Dude, that's like, wow. Okay. And we're live.
And we're like,
And we're live. After rocking out to REO Speedwagon.
Which-
Can't fight this feel. I just had to hear that part.
would you get a perm?
I knew a guy that had a perm.
Oh, yeah?
When we were kids. That was a style back then. Like,
And did it look good? Was y'all proud?
He was proud of it. I wasn't so confident of it. But, REO Speedwagon, you know what I mean? Like 80s, big hair, like,
Yeah.
You loved it, right?
I did love it. I did love it.
You saw a man with a perm and you're like, oh, daddy.
I was in elementary school when I remember the videos from MTV.
Really?
Yeah, and like seeing like bands like Rat and Bon Jovi and
Oh,
Cinderella.
my God.
I was like, oh my God. But their hair and then the tight pants, like the
Dude,
latex tight pants.
Who doesn't like I say, when REO Speedwagon comes on, I mean, dare I say the jukebox at the bar?
Hey, that was what I remember when I was in high school.
I know, right?
I'd go to Pizza Hut and
Like, we're practically at the bar here, and we're sipping away in our. I gotta say this. What is this?
what do you think?
On the road, jalapeno pineapple margarita. I don't know. Jalapeno pineapple margarita. It's called On the Road Premium Cocktail. It was probably in the back of the shelf. It'd probably been there for like 5 years.
That's what it tastes like, huh?
It doesn't taste bad because it was in a glass bottle. But
The jalapeno tastes like it's been shelved.
I know.
It tastes-
I don't know. I don't know, Jeanette. But I mean, I'll just say this though. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
That's exactly my opinion of it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
What happens when you combine love and hate together? Love,
You call it marriage.
Oh, it's called marriage.
It's
I just
called
got married to
marriage.
this weird jalapeno
Like,
pineapple.
Suddenly, I was married to this drink on the rocks. Damn it!
I
I
mean,
didn't even know.
I guess if I was bringing a girl over right now, and I wanted to impress her, and if that's all I had, I'd go with it. I'd let it happen. I'd be like, "Hey, girl, you know what I got you? Hey, you know what I mean? Like, it's all good, right?"
It's like, you're special. Like, I got this one for
It's
you.
like, "Hey, girl, I got you some, jalapeno pineapple. I made it for you." I'd put it like a little shaker with some ice and be all. It's like, what you got there for you? I got a little something for you, girl. I'd pretend I'd whip it up, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, this is so good. How'd you make it?"
It goes with her gourmet meal. Hey, girl, you like fine dining?
It goes with the panty drop.
No, the fine dining, the Swanson's TV dinner
Oh,
in
gosh.
the freezer.
I could do better
Do
than
you
that.
like
I could do
fine
better
dining?
than that.
That was a song, an old song. I forgot.
I don't know what kind of guys are inviting you over to their house, but yeah, Jeanette, dude.
I'm like, fine dining. Oh, that's marinara in a jar. No, I'm just kidding. Damn it.
I'm just kind of grossed out. Dude, it's been like a month and a half or
It's
so.
been a long time.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a minute. I guess we took like a little hiatus.
Yeah.
We were just busy.
Yeah, I think I definitely got busier. I think I got more.
Well, you moved up in your job.
I took on a new role.
Took
and I
on
wanted
the big
to-
girl, panties and,
I wanted to do well, but I guess that's over. I'm just kidding.
It's like my dream. Now that my dreams are
Honeymoon
officially
is over.
crushed down the toilet. Tell us how's it feel to see your dreams going down the toilet, Jeanette?
It's like the honeymoon phase, and then after that, you're like, oh, okay, so
that was it.
that was it.
Yeah.
I'm just
And,
kidding. I like my job.
Of the
I really do.
3 people listening to us, they can like 2 of them probably can relate, maybe 1. It's like, yeah, sometimes when you get the promotion, it's not all that.
No, you're all like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sacrifice all of my time. Then later on, you're like, wait a minute, I think I still have a life somewhere.
What in the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, you're like, I'm so tired. Why am I so tired?
Dude. Okay, so we have like a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, yes.
Like a lot.
So
I got a little shark case for my iPods.
I freaking like it. Where did you get that?
It was a gift to me from Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Somebody
So-
said, Mark the Shark, you need a tiburon.
Mark the Shark.
You need it doesn't sound that good in Spanish. Mark el tiburon. It doesn't have the same role as Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark. I like Mark
No,
the Shark.
It would be Marcos el tiburon. It doesn't sound the same,
It's
does
so
it?
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It's like, wah, wah.
But you say it in English, Mark the Shark. And you're like, who is this man?
Who's Mark the Shark?
Should I be concerned? Is he underhanded? Is he
You
going to
know,
sell me a used car overly expensive?
It can go many ways. It could be Mark the Shark, like businessman, Mark the Shark.
It's like a mullet, all business in the front and party in the back.
Mark the Shark, like your party friend. It could be Mark the Shark, the guy that you're dating. Like, whoa, it could be a lot of things.
It could be a lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. They'd be like, oh, you dated that guy?
You dated Mark the Shark?
It'd be like, Jimmy Fallon,
Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark, I totally hit it.
I totally hit
I would
it.
totally hit it.
Oh my God, you're so dumb.
That's totally something that would come off of that show.
My God.
Oh my God, indeed.
You've invented your own character.
I have no.
And Mark the Shark.
That's the Jimmy Fallon character where
Is it?
he invites somebody. They invite people over, and he's like, "My name is Sarah with no H because H's are L." Anybody that's watched Jimmy Fallon long enough, and that was so funny. He'd have all actors like he had Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande, Will Ferrell. Artists there. I'll be like, yeah.
That's so funny. Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah.
He's the one who wrote that one song about girl you like fine dining because I know what you want. You haven't heard that? And I know what you need because I'm an idiot and I'm
Jeanette,
your boyfriend.
what kind of line do guys tell you?
I listen to Jimmy Fallon just like you.
What
the hell?
And they do we're gonna take a Befalfi pic forever, like best friends forever, like Befalfi or something like that.
A selfie?
I'm gonna take a Befalfi picture, except without Jeanette, 'cause I hate Jeanette.
Oh, you see, that's Mark the Shark being a dick.
That's the Mark the Shark moment.
Mark the Shark moment. Damn you.
Okay, anyways. So a lot's been going on. Yeah, we took a little bit of a break. Not intentionally, but I think, it was kind of good. You've been working. You've been committed. Working woman. Did you get a little suitcase? You're going in your little pencil skirt and, all right, bitches, I'm here. Let's get to work.
The pencil skirt. the heels that just...
I know, right? You walk in the office.
Just hurt.
Click, 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 click.
I'm wearing my hair in a bun now.
Oh, God. Wow.
I know. No. Something you realize, because you always envision when you're in a position that you've been wanting for a while. You always envision the people that were there before you. And I've just come to the conclusion that there is no one else other than Jeanette. I could only be the best Jeanette
And
I
Mark
know how
and
to
Dario.
be.
And Mark and Dario.
Oh.
Aww.
I could only be the best Jeanette.
I know, right?
Know.
Oh.
I have my own style.
And then, okay, well, cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
your own style.
You have to have your own style. You have to know that, you know what, these people before me,
We're awesome.
I learned from
They
them.
were awesome. You can't replace them.
But you can with Jeanette. Oh. Wow. But, I am my own me.
You're your own you.
I'm my own me. And I have to do what Jeanette does.
All right, very cool. Well, congratulations. I'll drink to that.
Yeah,
Cheers. Cheers. Boom, boom.
To the 10-year-old the 10-year-old bottle that's been on the Walgreens shelf. Huh?
I know, right? How fitting. That's all I'm going to say. How fitting.
Wow.
Okay, so, all right, then. Well, very cool. I've been traveling more, too.
Yes. So...
okay, so right now on my list of places in the past couple of months, I've gone down to Mexico 6-7 times.
You've gone down for a while, down to Mexico.
Okay, so I've stayed in Monterrey, Mexico, Juarez, which surprised me because we're familiar with Juarez. And I made this comment to you that I was walking down the streets of Juarez with a friend of mine. And I was like, I never envisioned myself walking down the streets of Juarez. And even my friend that was from Mexico, she was like, why not? I was like, because this is Juarez.
There's this thing that we have about just because we're
from
heard
this
the
side.
stories. Yeah, we've heard all the stories. And then we know people on this side who've had they've told us stories about their relatives and things that happened in Juarez to them.
Yeah, well, even then, even without those stories, it's still like Juarez.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The streets were dirty. Go to the Mercado. Like, the guys that are standing there in the parking spaces swirling the town, or the towel trying to get you to park there. And they're like, give me a couple $2 and I'll wash your car and clean your windows. You know what I mean? So Monterrey, Juarez, just got back from Guadalajara.
Oh,
Guadalajara.
Is that where you were at?
I was in Guadalajara. And
nice.
then I went up to Tequila Mexico because who doesn't love tequila?
I know, and I saw those pictures. They were amazing.
Did I send you like the pictures?
Yes, you saw the agave field?
Oh yeah, the agave field.
Yeah.
I mean, so the whole experience was amazing. I'll tell you about that in a second. I'm already contemplating like my next place I want to go, either Mexico City. I definitely want to go to Costa Rica this coming year.
Wait. That's you?
Yeah,
okay.
I would definitely want to go to Costa Rica next year, and I still have a thing for Colombia.
I think you need to go back. I think you need to keep exploring all of your places, all your destinations.
Well,
all right,
I still have roots in Colombia.
We'll have to have an off-topic conversation about that.
I officially don't have any roots in Venezuela no more, but I have roots in Colombia still.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark. And tiburon. So but I've been doing a lot of traveling and enjoying that. Work's going good. Been very busy. Been a pain in the butt also, but I mean,
work is good. It builds character.
It kind of builds character. Kind of like, something we've been talking about since day one. Mm. So, the Russian-Ukraine war, it's been going on 267 days now.
Wow.
We were talking about it like
April.
Is it April? And like how crazy it was.
April, I think it was April.
A country invading another country, and that they were going to be taken over. Yeah. And here recently, the Russians are gone full retreat. Like they are just messing things up over there. They're just the first biggest city that fell to Russia, Kherson, was just retaken by Ukraine. It's kind of crazy. Like so that's still going, and it's going in their favor, and who knows what's going to happen, right? Like
you never know.
You never know. Yeah, so I've been keeping up with that. Know. It's and it's surprising because I was listening to this article about like the countries that are helping Ukraine. You think you're in the United States, billions of dollars, HIMARS. You have Portugal, small little Portugal.
I think that. Well,
you know Portugal, right?
Yeah, I do know Portugal.
A small little country used to be a huge empire. Matter of fact, their second capital was in Brazil during like the Brisbane earthquake or something like that.
I'm surprised I'm drinking this.
I know you're just loving it. So Portugal is like millions of rounds of ammo and millions of dollars. So many like helmets and uniforms. They're donating what they can. A small little country.
Yeah.
France, Germany's giving them air defense weapons, Britain, like there's countries all over the world donating just all sorts of stuff to like Ukraine. And I'm wondering what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you ever think about it? I mean, for most of us, we go to work, we go to our family, it's not a big deal, it doesn't affect us. But it's like, man, is this like countries like saying like no to aggression from a bigger country invading a smaller country? Is it still like relics of the Cold War? Like, hey, you still have like vestiges of communism and we're going to say no to it. Is it like, what is it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the tons of country are just pouring in like rations, food, everything. Yeah, so it's really curious of like what it is, what it means and all that, I don't know if you heard this just yesterday, because today is Thursday, the 17th of November. Mm-hmm. Like a stray missile flew into Poland, hit a farm and it killed some farmers, and people are like really up in arms, and they're like, well, no, it was an accident, because there was like, what they were able to show is like there was a communications antenna on the border.
I always find it kind of weird when they're like, so and so took responsibility. So no one took responsibility.
Well, they know it's Russian. They know it's Russian.
But you know how sometimes it's like known. It's a known target. It's a known aggression, and the person who did it will say, "Yeah, that was us." Yeah. And then the news will report it as like so and so took
I believe Russia said, yeah, that was us. It was an accident.
Oh,
and
okay.
what people have been able to do, they've been able to map the trajectory of the missile, and they were able to show on the border of Poland and Ukraine, there's actually like a communications array, and they think this missile is meant to hit the communications array, but for some reason it just like the targeting was off and all that, and it just flew past it, and it ended up crashing into a farm. Like just totally random, right? So
How
I mean,
peculiar,
but just like a really sketchy situation that could totally lead to like, geez, suddenly.
Well, you can all of a sudden have like
World War
Poland
III.
involved. Yeah, you can have like now it's like personal.
Poland's coming in, it's like, F you guys, we're going to war. You
Yeah,
killed-
like you did not do.
Yeah,
It's
you did
kind of
not.
like it's like a little street fight. You did that on purpose.
I know, right?
It is.
Yeah, so
like-
it could be like it could like snowball really big because
Yeah, it could.
suddenly you have NATO, you have Article 5, you have Russia as a part of the Warsaw Pact, and so you wouldn't believe it. So the Warsaw, you know what the Warsaw Pact is? It was like Soviet bloc countries like Czechoslovakia, Belarus, Russia, Kyrgyzstan. So the USSR was comprised of 28 countries, and they all worked in cooperation. And then they had the Warsaw Pact, and they had their version of Article 5, saying if you attack on one country, you attack on all of us. Like, so Chechnya is obviously sending soldiers to Ukraine because they support Russia, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could just snowball into like such a big thing. It's like, hopefully cooler heads prevail because, who wants to go to war? Who wants obviously you see it's been a while since we've talked, but Russia,
Oh, that's
Russia.
your door, dude.
Oh,
Time out.
game off.
Game off.
Game off. Okay, so we're back. Dun dun
Back.
dun. Dario's here.
Game on.
Game on.
Game
Game
on.
on. So yeah, well, we're just kind of just touching base, going over a couple things. Jeanette's got the promo, the promotion since we last talked, and now she saw her dreams and hopes go down the drain.
Now she realizes what reality is like.
I know, right?
Responsibility.
Welcome to the real world, Jeanette. Talk, kind of.
Welcome to accountability, Jeanette.
Welcome to accountability.
Awesome.
Right. And then I was kind of just telling her, we always talk a little bit about Ukraine. Day 267.
Oh my God! Remember when it was day 35?
That's what I was telling her.
When was that though? What was that, like April? Was that? When
It had to
was
have been
that?
like, 200. There's 300 and how many days? 50 something days in a year.
All right, so we got to do the math, which I'm not
365.
prepared to do after this one.
Okay,
Has it been
200.
a year already?
Yeah, it's
206.
no.
Okay, 267 divided
No.
by 3. Quick, do the math in your head. 267 divided by 3. Who's got the answer?
You do. You have the calculator.
Yeah, but I wanted to see if you had it.
Wait a minute. I like lost-
roughly like 9 months, 8 to 9 months.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been about 8 or 9 months, and they're actually kicking ass and pushing Russia back. Like
So if you got pregnant during the invasion,
you're having a kid now.
you're a kid now.
If you had that, honey, I love you. Let's just do it one more time. You might not ever see me again. You might be popping one out
The power
now.
went out tonight. I can hear something across town, but let's just finish this one off.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
So all
to
the
know
all the
that
Ukraine
there's-
all the Ukrainian war babies are the first round of Ukrainian war babies are being born.
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what's crazy though is there aren't any more Ukrainian women in Ukraine.
Well, and think about Russia. There's not even any men left in Russia. There are, but there's like a flight of Russian men out of Russia from the mobilization.
Wow.
Like, did you see the pictures? Like the lines of people at all
are
the
the sheep gonna
border
do?
checkpoints.
So you're saying there's no Ukrainian women and there's no Russian men
but there are Russian women and Ukrainian men.
reunited?
It feels so
so
good.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
I think she was waiting. She wrote that down before she
I know she was waiting. It's like,
Wait
I'm
a
going to
minute,
sing this
wait a
song
minute,
here
wait a
today.
minute.
I'm going to do this, guys. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go big. So, but yeah, like when
Let me
Putin
set
rumbled,
up the scenario and
I know she was
saying-
like, it's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. I'm at my moment.
I've been waiting for 10 years. Just 10
God.
years for this to happen. It finally happened.
It finally happened.
That was my moment. Wow.
So all the Ukrainian women left Ukraine.
But they're actually returning back.
are they?
A lot of people are going back since like Kyiv was liberated and the Russians were being pushed way back.
Imagine if you had stayed. How do you feel about those people returning? Bastards.
Do you? Your countrymen. Do you feel like?
How do you feel
You
about your
left me.
husband?
Do you feel like that
How do you
they
feel
turn
about
and
your
ran
husband?
like, oh, you chicken shit, or do you feel like, all right, I get it, you're afraid?
No. I think they had families and kids,
Yeah.
and like shit, I'm leaving because of that.
So
Or I'm sending them on a train like the British did during World War II.
So I, when I was in Tequila, I met a girl from North Carolina that was living in Georgia, Russia.
Really?
Yeah, and you remember Georgian separatists, they tried to separate from Georgia and or from Russia to become their own country, and the Russians dropped the hammer on them back when they had a military that could just crush people.
And you just randomly met this person in Tequila, Mexico?
Yeah, and there's a story behind that. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay,
but
hold on. Let's rewind. Let's start with the basics. There's a city called Tequila in Mexico.
we're for a tequila to be called tequila, think Champagne,
No
France.
way. That's a region in Mexico called
Yes.
Tequila.
And there's agave plants as far as the eye can see.
And
And-
Sounds like.
okay.
is
sounds
that the
like-
one where you sent me a picture drinking
Yeah.
a beer?
Yeah. So okay, and we were at a
Look
a
at our-
tequila. We
Look
were
at
at
his
I
expression.
was
So-
like, my friend, you're drinking the wrong beverage. You're
well, it was
standing in the
it was
middle.
like 10 o'clock in the morning. I thought I need to pace myself, so let me just start with the Corona,
It's a chaser.
the pre-chaser. So I was at a tequila distillery
Is that a distillery?
called Convivencia on a tequila tour. Great tequila. It's like one of the tequilas that they don't sell to stores. It's only like contracted, And
So we're never going to see this again. So we have to savor our
yeah, I'm
souvenirs.
gonna order more. I'll order more online or something. But
Is it good?
this
Yes, it was good.
this
It was
tequila
freaking
distillery is right next to the tequila distillery. That's like one of the owners is The Rock. I was like, where's it? I want to take a
Is this
picture.
like Cabo Wabo, the guy from Jimmy Haggard?
I know, right? No, but this was the actual tequila, and this is like the 5-year tequila. So this was like super good.
On the ratings of tequila, I know. I mean, this is so much more important than the war in Ukraine. But on the ratings of tequila, is there like a 1 year, 3 year,
Okay,
5
so
year?
you have tequila blanco, the white stuff, the silver, the
Yes.
white. Then you have reposado.
Right?
Then you have anejo,
Yes.
and anejo can be aged up to like 3 years, I think.
Okay.
And this is aged up to 5 years, so it would be like a special reserve
To
kind
get
of
the
thing,
flavors from the barrel.
right? Which all the barrels come from with the whiskey barrels
Yeah.
from either
Slave ships
I know, right?
from the Civil War.
I could still taste the
So
sweat.
they come from
The-
spaceships.
the-
I want the.
I could taste
the basement level.
the blood, sweat, and semen out of the barrels. It's amazing.
I want the window
amazing.
seat aisle
So-
floor.
They have to use the wood. They have to use is the robledo, which I think is like the oak, and they use it from like the they don't use the bourbon casks. They use the whiskey casks, but they use the wood specifically from France and from the United States for the oak casks to age the tequila in. And naturally, the longer you age it, the more flavor gets out of the wood.
Yeah.
So you get that real oaky taste.
Yeah.
So, God, say this
5
company here,
years. That's 5 years. That's amazing.
right?
Yeah.
And so they were. So this,
That's, you know why it is amazing. That is a great deal of restraint.
but they have so many. They have so many barrels.
By the
you go
farmer.
into the basement of this building.
Farmer's daughter.
Well, you go into this. I bent over that barrel. That barrel. That barrel is seasoned well. So is that one. So is that one. But you go into a basement of this one building, and there are just hundreds of casks, stacked.
And how old is this like vineyard, so to speak? How
I don't recall. They were talking a lot of Spanish. In my Spanish,
We're
maybe
talking
are
about
these like hundreds of years old?
Yeah.
Like
They were
old
talking a lot of
monasteries,
Spanish.
the monks.
yeah. So
Forget that white wine shit. Let's make this.
tequila. Well, and the tequila comes from the Mexicans. It's not from the the wine would be the monks, the Catholics,
Okay.
right? No, it was because the agave comes specifically from Mexico.
So okay, is it possible to ferment any plant? Like
Anything that can create sugar,
so agave?
because you
can
need
create
the sugar during fermentation. Then you add the yeast in like a brewer's yeast or something, and the yeast as it eats the yogurt.
What happened to
the
you?
sugar as it eats
That was her name.
Yoga, you're a good yoga. No, as the yeast eats up the sugars that from the fermentation, and I could be butchering this, but it converts the byproduct is alcohol. And so what eventually happens is there's so much alcohol content in the brew, it ends up killing the yeast. The yeast kills itself.
Right.
Right, but you have to have something for the yeast to eat, to convert. So basically anything that has like some sort of sugar content, and pretty much anything.
Can
Because potatoes.
ferment.
You have like fruit, cherries. You have
You can distill pretty much.
anything. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of who uses tree bark, stuff like that. Rice. You know what I mean? Because you have the Japanese with the rice stuff.
Rice.
So you will
Sake wine.
sake wine. So anything you can ferment that has some sort of content of sugar. And mind you, an agave plant is like an aloe kind of like cactus plant.
Right.
They cut off the leaves, which they use it for everything else. They use it for everything. So he's all telling us like the agave plants, because you know that they're like pointy at the end.
Yes.
He says, yeah, people cut off the points and they use them for like needles, and they use them for this, they use them for that. Then they use the fibers from the leaves. They use
Just
the
like
fibers.
the American Indians use
Yeah.
the buffalo.
He says sometimes we just leave them in the fields just in compost. And he says once you cut that off, you have the pineapple, because it looks like a pineapple. Chop it up, you cook it, you mash it, and all that stuff.
Bun.
Yeah, and you just start fermenting it.
Slimy.
So somebody a long time ago, just like anything else, somebody a long time ago got that and thought, God, it's going bad. It has a sweet taste and it's getting me a little drunk.
Bees are all around it. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Right? Like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
The honey.
Crazy.
Right? So kind of the same concept, right?
Right.
But and what's curious about this? So this is in Tequila, Mexico. So if you're
Near what city?
So if you're interested in this, okay. So like me and Jeanette we're touching base. I go, the last couple months I've been traveling. I've gone to Mexico 6 or 7 times. Juarez, Monterrey, Guadalajara now, and Tequila.
Wow.
So I flew into Guadalajara.
Yeah.
And so so Juarez is a border town, completely industrialized, right?
It's like a hub.
It's a hub. It's a dirty town. I had a lot of time to talk to the people in Juarez, and I was like, "What's there to do for tourists and all that?" And they're like, mind you, everybody I talked to in Juarez was so nice.
Yeah.
They're just matter of fact, I want to say of all so far of all these cities I've gone to, maybe with the exception of Tequila, the Juarez people have been the nicest, hands down the nicest people. And the Juarez people, they're like, well, this is an industrial town. People come here to work. It's not laid out for tourists. And if you think about Juarez, because I mean, have you been?
Just the bridge, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a
That's it.
sense, it's it. It's an industrial town. You might have a mercado, but in a couple of restaurants, but it's
The
not
city
really a tourist
planners-
place.
No, the city's tried to do like a little park.
They've done that with the big X's and all that.
Yeah. they do
But there's
some
still
music.
nothing there aside from the big X unless there's a fair. Okay, so that's Juarez. You go to Monterrey,
Well, that's amazing.
big metro city. It's about 5,100,000 people,
It's amazing.
and it's skyscrapers.
River goes through right
Beautiful.
through the middle of the
They've
canal.
they've
like
and
LA.
that river is only 5 or 6 years old. That goes through town. They cut it through town, so now there's a beautiful river walk.
Like San
Beautiful,
Antonio.
beautiful museums all over the river walk. They have a metro train. Lots of cool places to go to. A lot of cool bars and all that. So Monterey is very up and coming.
And you go outside of Monterey just a little bit, and you've got like Dripping Springs up here.
Yeah,
or you got,
all over.
Like,
Well, it's
Ruidoso
ringed
and-
by mountains.
Yeah.
They've got people from Monterey are called Regia. They're called royalty. They call themselves the Regias.
Is that where the Aztec,
No.
from Mexico City would go to Summer Palace or
No,
get out
no,
of
no.
the summer heat? Or
No, I don't think the Aztecs made it that far.
no, because
and there's
Monterey was hot.
Monterey is hot, but they have a mountain that looks like a saddle.
Oh,
And because it looks like it's kind of related to the name Regia, it looks like a saddle, like a saddle of the gods or something like that. So it's kind of cool. It's really pretty, green, very vibrant city. A lot of
Waterfalls
businesses.
up in the
Cost of
mountains.
living's higher there. The what do you call that? Not the cost of living, but your living.
expenses.
No, you're just your living overall. Your living environment.
Your standard of living.
Standard of
is
living
higher?
is a little bit higher in Monterey. And so you think of Mexico, and okay, so Mexico, that's probably like 1970s, 1980s LA, up and coming, or San Francisco. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then you talk about like the Mexico you see in the movies,
Guadalajara,
like
Puebla.
not like Nacho Libre, or the Three Amigos, and all that. You know what I mean? Because that's how we growing up in the '80s. That's what you thought about when you saw Mexico. Now, when you think Mexico, you think
Miami Vice.
not Miami Vice, Narcos on the Netflix. Narcos,
You think
right?
Narcos Mexico?
Right.
Yeah.
But so you go to Guadalajara, and then you have 16th century buildings built in 15 something.
that
The
is
cathedral, the presidential palace.
Yeah.
Like just, you have modern day buildings,
Yeah.
and then you have this 300-year-old building.
Yeah.
And then some more modern buildings. And some of them are like they cut half of this 300-year-old building
It's like
in half.
the Plaza in Santa Fe.
Yeah. Just on a more grand scale. Because
Yeah.
Santa Fe is not all that.
No.
No.
But you know that old church that's, the walls are as
Yeah.
thick as...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. They have big open areas. And you look at all the stonework and you're like, somebody did this by hand, 15 something. And so you start getting a feel of like, oh, this is Mexico. And there's people eating everywhere. There's people just walking around.
It's like old Mexico.
It's older Mexico. It's older Mexico. And probably not like the old Mexico I grew up in Casa Grandes. Dirt roads, people walking with a burro
Or the
on the
old
side of the
Mexico
road.
I grew up next to in Minnesota, which had great
Yeah.
tacos and a nice Chi-Chi's happy hour.
You know what's funny? When Mexicans that far down in Mexico, they say, "Oh, where are you from?" I say, "Oh, soy del Nuevo Mexico. I'm from New Mexico." And they're like, "Oh."
They don't understand, right?
Well, I mean, people know
they?
the United States.
I'd just say Arizona.
No, I say New Mexico. They're like, "No, Mexico." I go, soy de USA. USA. They don't. Some people say estados. Oh, you're from eres de estados.
Soy gringo.
Yeah, and me being brown, everybody from the United States is called a gringo.
Yep.
Or they say, no, es de USA.
USA.
Yeah, so they say that. So that's kind of cool.
Soy gringo, pero no güero.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly, right? And so in that sense, it's like kind of what you would envision it if you're going to Mexico and seeing the old palace, seeing all that old stuff.
Did I tell you how I went to Guadalajara by mistake?
By
By
mistake.
mistake. There's a story there.
There was a time when I was traveling a lot, maybe a little too much. And I was based in Mexico City. And the first time, you remember the scene from Ace Ventura when he's racing through the terminal and he runs to get on the plane, and the lady closes the door and says, "Sir, you can't go through that." "It's okay, I'm a pet detective."
Yeah.
And he runs.
Yeah.
And the reason why he can't go down there is because the plane isn't actually there anymore, and he flies off the jetway and lands straight on the. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
doing one of those things, and I'm running down, and the jetway had a bifurcated exit from stay to the right, you go to Monterrey.
Yeah.
Just go to the left, you go to Guadalajara. So I end up going on the wrong side of whatever this was.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
I seriously, at some point they normally say welcome to flight 72, where it will take us 2 hours to get to Guadalajara.
First of all,
Right?
the intercom system there at the airport is totally Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And,
And it's in Spanish, and you're like, "K."
Okay.
Okay.
The lineup is totally different.
Yeah.
The getting on the planes is totally different, and you can actually go down one runway, and there's 2 connections. So
Yeah.
you gotta really
Cool,
either
like,
know
if
Spanish,
you-
and
if
even
you-
if you know Spanish, you can.
Well,
see
when you're
the
flying
lane.
out of Juarez, it's such a
can
tiny
get lost.
airport, and you're walking on the tarmac, and that's the first time I've ever had to walk on a tarmac to go into
go to
the
your plane.
airplane.
Did you feel like you're like in some
like
Venezuela,
1920s? No, because
flying to Cuba?
even down in like
Miami.
Colombia and landing there, when I landed in Cucuta, which is right on the border with Venezuela, they still had terminals. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but not like Juarez. Like, so the first time I went to the airport in Juarez, it's like, first of all, the airport's tiny. I'm like, is this it? And security was like, all right, go ahead, come through. And I'm like, getting ready to like take my pants off, my shoes off, everything. And they're like, okay, you're good. I'm like,
That's it.
all right. Oh, okay. Do you want to check like other places, and no, they're good. It's not like airports in Houston.
Right.
Get to the airport like 3 or 4 hours early.
Oh my
no.
God, yeah.
I got there with like an hour to spare, and I'm like freaking out. Walked in, showed them my stuff, filled out my visa paperwork. Easy peasy.
Wow.
Yeah, they call your permiso. While you're there, how many days you're gonna be there, and and then you're just there waiting, and it's a small little building, and they have like the little tables there, and eventually somebody will come up and put up a sign that says Monterrey, Guadalajara. They put like the little sign holder, and
that's
you're
how
like,
you know where you're going.
and yeah, you're like hoping, you're like, is that the one?
Right.
Yeah, and then Monterrey Airport. It's a little bit more modern, but for Viva Aerobus, they're still building that wing, so you still have to go on the tarmac. Now, the Guadalajara airport was a legit airport. They're making it bigger, but at least you had like the terminals that take you right up to the airplane and all that. So yeah.
How
I think it was
interesting.
Guadalajara where I ended up, and I just took a taxi drive and went around town, and because I
Well,
booked,
why not?
I
You're
booked the
already
next
there.
flight back, and
I'll tell you what, Dario. Okay, so I went to Colombia like in May, right? So I'm down in Guadalajara, and I'm like, God, Mexican women are beautiful. You know what I mean? You're just like all these beautiful Mexican women. You're like, you forget, right? And then I went on the tequila tour, and there's some Colombians on, and I heard her voice before I saw her, because the Colombians have a distinct accent, like a very thick, sexy accent, and I'm like, oh. And I was there with somebody. I go, hold on, I dropped something.
He's all
And I was
trying
like-
not to be obvious.
I was like, oh, that's exactly what I thought that was gonna be. I was like, good lord. Oh, I was
one
like,
of the
my
best
God.
PR for Colombian women is what's that show where she's married to Nanny? What's her name?
Fran
Oh.
Drescher.
no,
Not the nanny, but she's married to a guy named Manny, and they have like a daughter, Claire, who's a real estate or her
yeah,
husband.
you're talking about. Good God, it's
It's a comedy show, and then there's the two guys that are a couple, and then they have a Korean adopted daughter.
Oh,
it's
with
the
Al
girl from
Bundy.
Colombia.
Al
Yeah.
Bundy's married
Yeah.
to
What's that show
Vergara.
Yeah,
Yes.
He is the best. Like
Oh my
the
God.
best thing that ever happened.
You know
to
what?
Promote.
Yes, Sofia Vergara or something
Yes.
like that.
Is she from Colombia?
Yes.
She's either
I thought
Colombian
she
or
was.
Venezuela. One or
I
the
thought
other.
she was
Colombia.
Colombian.
Is she Colombian?
Yeah, I
so
thought she
she's
was.
beautiful and all that.
But what the heck is that show called?
See,
Now I'm going to look up
don't
Al
have
Bundy. I'm just going to look up Al Bundy.
That's gonna bug me.
I know, right? We have to see. Well, it's Oh man, and first of all, let's
That's
Family-
the absolute bear. That's the absolute bear.
family what?
Vodka Rita speaking. Why we cannot
Yeah.
remember. And actually, this one was good. I like this one. I didn't like the other one.
it's smooth.
Oh my God, it's my good lord. I'm trying to track him down. Al Bundy's real name is Ed O'Neill.
And the show is called.
Ed O'Neill.
So let's ask our audience to dial in and call.
Dial in. I know. Dial in. Please call.
Let us know.
Okay, you're half right. Family. Something family.
Family ties. Family.
No.
Modern family.
Modern family.
That's
But
it.
when you're down there,
They all look like that.
no.
Oh.
Okay, so like,
He's like, no.
Okay,
Sarah's like,
so
well, then
while-
why are we
was
talking about this?
that was my inside voice saying I'm disappointed.
I know,
okay,
like,
so
why are we
so
talking
you,
about this
like you
then?
go to Mexico
Yeah.
and you have different kind of Mexicans. You have very light skin,
Yes.
European Mexican, Spanish ancestry,
Mm.
and then you have a lot of very native Mexicans, very dark skin.
Yeah.
Colombia is the same way. They're either very light skinned, voluptuous, or very, very small, very brown, very
So
brown,
indigenous
very
population.
indigenous, very, very distinct.
There must
But
be
they all
there must no. You know what? I bet you there's like a lot of
racism.
racism and
I'm-
prejudice.
I
against-
haven't heard of much of racism down. Okay, so I was talking to this girl in Venezuela, and I don't know where she was at. We were talking on the phone, and she goes, "I go, oh, that's interesting music," and she says, "Oh, es la música del llano."
Is he a musician? Of a white guy?
No, Venezuelan.
Okay.
But she was from the coast called I was talking to two girls there from the Falcon. It was the state of Falcon in Venezuela, and
So between countries, it's probably not an issue as much, but between skin color.
skin color. So she was from the coast. This girl I was talking to, and she's very Caribbean influence.
Oh,
And her dad was from Aruba or something. And so then she was I could hear music in the background. I go, oh, that's very cool. She goes, es feo, es italiano. And then she was telling me they're like farmers from the inside, the interior, like the flatlands. And she says, es feo. You know, she says, it's just not pretty.
okay.
And so I would hear stuff like that.
Okay.
And they all had like friends of different, you know, so I didn't see any distinct racism when I was there, but you could see the differences. Now, to say that the light skinned ones didn't work as waiters and the dark skinned one, everybody seemed to be doing everything.
Okay.
Everybody seemed to be doing everything. There was just no distinction.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what though, you find yourself in a crowd of Colombian women and they're beautiful, and you just want to touch her, just like.
He's never coming back from
He's
Mexico.
not coming
I
God,
believe that in the next
He's
year
lost.
he will be moving to Mexico. Have you considered that,
Could
or
work
to?
remotely.
I've talked to a lot of people, but we'll get back to all that, right? So so just to recap, I was like I was in Tequila.
Yes.
A girl from South Carolina was there in Tequila.
Was she just traveling like you?
She went to Texas to go to a family wedding, and she came in through Mexico to go to Texas.
What?
Yeah, so she's living in Georgia.
Oh, she's living in Georgia, like
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah, and so I'm like,
What's in Georgia?
she says I'm working remotely, and the people are nice out there.
No,
But
wait,
what's the
that's not-
appeal? What is that?
Is she
Why?
working for the State Department?
No,
Why
she
would
didn't say
anybody
anything.
want to go over there? Like
No.
there has
Very,
to be.
very unassuming. Very.
Jeanette, why?
So okay, so that's what I was wondering that too. I didn't
Why,
pick.
Jeanette?
I didn't pick too much. She was like, "Well, I stayed in Ireland, and I was there in Ireland for a while. And then the charm of it wore off. So then I went to Georgia. Happened to know somebody out there or something. So I went to go stay with them, and I've been there ever since. And she goes, everybody's just really nice.
Isn't
and
it
it's great."
Georgia isn't it like a third world country?
I don't know. I don't know enough about Georgia. They tried to break off from
Bombed out
Russia
cities.
for independence. Remember when that happened?
Did you guys hear that they determined that that Malaysian airliner
Was shot down by Russia.
crashed? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
The Ukraine, Russian separatists, and the blah blah blah. That was a precursor to this invasion, and there's so much stuff that's
There's so much has been
boiling.
coming out.
Yeah.
And I was telling Jeanette just yesterday, a Russian rocket landed in Poland, killed some farmers. Like, if the powers that be don't play it correctly, it could spiral so out of control so
It's
fast.
because Poland is NATO protected.
Oh yeah, and Poland's fully mobilized, and we have the 101st Air Force Division out there also.
So can you imagine? Somebody at somewhere at some base might have seen incoming. Something crossed the border. What is it?
There's this.
Was it a mistake?
One of the many people
That's
I follow
what I mentioned
online.
earlier. Like
One of the many people I follow online.
that's what the Russians.
I don't know if
say.
he'll come up my feed. I watch his reels. He's like a military analyst, and
He's the old army guy, tank guy.
Ryan Macbeth wears glasses. Yeah, and he mapped it out, and he says, could Russia have been provoking? Maybe, but then he maps it out.
Testing.
But he goes, but there's also like a big communications array between Russia and Poland in that same trajectory. So did Russia lose control of the missile as they were trying to take out that communication array? It's very well possible also. He says because it didn't go anywhere in Poland where there's like a big population center or anything like that. It kind of wasn't like it didn't hit any major buildings. It just kind of seems very random. But the fact that it lays on the trajectory of this communications array that was on the border, he goes, it's most likely with Russian technology being as bad as it is right now, that they lost control of it and they just overshot it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
What's this guy's name again?
Ryan Macbeth. So, and if anybody's listening, if our two people are listening,
Thank
I
you
think
for
they-
listening.
I think they fell asleep.
2.5.
We have
there's
to.
a-
We have to at least thank them.
There's thank
putting
you for
up
the
with
2.5 people. We support the midgets too.
putting up with our shenanigans.
I know they're like, these guys are dumb.
These guys are dumb. I know.
But
They're like, they can't even remember Modern Family.
Ryan Macbeth on YouTube, he does reels. Yeah, I guess he has like a channel. He has like more stuff he does online. He actually has
Same
like
guy. Yes,
huh?
yes, exactly.
He actually has really good information.
Yeah, he was an information officer in the Army.
He does really good stuff on there.
Yes,
and
he does.
really informative. He talks about his experience. He even has like his old pictures, and it's kind of funny to see him in the old Army gear when he was in the Army. But just super informative. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the guys I listened to, and he was the one he had like where it was kind of like mapped out that it was like it's most likely that they overshot that communication array. Kind of interesting, but just kind of like if they're not careful, though, man, it could get really bad really fast, right? Yeah,
I'm just blown away. Not the right terminology for the situation or conversation, but I'm just impressed at how well Ukraine has held their ground.
Kherson, the first city to fall to the Russians, they've taken it back.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Are they backing up before they just launch everything?
Yeah. So the Russians they backed out and they were crossing over this river and they just left all sorts of stuff. They left tanks. They left all sorts of stuff. And this guy actually, Ryan Macbeth, what he explains, he goes, river crossings are hard and they're dangerous because you set up all these fake pontoon. You set up all these pontoon crossings and all that. And he says when you have a tank on it, it can only go over one at a time. And like if a tank's crossing, it's an easy target. He says, why create a choke point with all these tanks and all this armor? Just leave it and get your men across. Especially right now that Russians being bled. There's a lot of soldiers that are dying. They're having a hard time getting recruits out now that they're mobilizing and having a hard time getting soldiers out there.
So they left hardware like tanks?
Like tanks and all that.
That's just easy pickings for the Ukraine.
Right. They just left tons of stuff.
Okay, so let's imagine this all settles down. Goes back to normal.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be a tourist in that area. To go see all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, in
like
Kyiv,
Normandy.
In Kyiv, they've already got like museums set up with captured Russian stuff.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was another video I was watching. Somebody going through like they have it set up in the streets, like all the gear and all that.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
How
cool is that?
peculiar.
Right. You know what I mean? But like we and Jeanette were talking about like. This guy or another guy was listing off like a bunch of countries that are donating stuff to Ukraine.
Oh, you're talking about like countries like Portugal and
right?
Like
Because you think Germany, Germany's doing air defense, Britain, United States, France, right? But then like something like Portugal, small country,
avocados.
I know, right? They're giving like munitions, helmets, uniforms, olive oil.
It's important.
I know, right?
It's important.
It's good for your skin.
It's good for your skin.
So everybody's giving what they can to these people, just anything they can, right? Like with every two handguns they get an avocado, right?
Right.
Yeah, but they're
what else comes out of?
But
what else does
everybody's
Portugal have?
I'm just imagining all these soldiers
Portugal,
just saturating their
Portugal
skin with
at
olive
one
oil.
point. Portugal at one point had the largest empire in the world. Brazil,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, think about in the course of the last 500 years. Not even. Let's say 600 years.
right?
You know how the world powers have shifted. Who's
Right.
to say that the U.S. will stay on top?
Right. You know what I mean?
next
The Portugal Empire at one point was like, gosh, I don't know this map. The map shows a lot of South America. 1415. So that's like 500 years ago. They were like the predominant military power. They had like all the African coast. They had the West Indies. They had Brazil. This is before the Spanish Empire. This is before the British Empire. They were like one of the first like predominant empires that was colonializing the world.
Right.
And they were probably as big as
mariners.
right. And they were probably as big as the English Empire at its height in the 1500s, 1415.
So after the Spaniards and the French and
No, before
Portuguese.
them. Before them.
So, but after
Yeah, you'll have to kill that
Portugal,
one.
then it was the Spanish.
The Spanish. Except Portugal retained Brazil, which is a big country. Like Brazil, you look at a map, Brazil's actually a big country.
Yeah.
It actually has the largest Catholic population anywhere else in the world except like out of Europe, like out of
Can you
Italy.
imagine it if Portugal would have kept on Brazil? Do you know how much minerals and mining and
What's the national language of Brazil?
Portuguese?
Portuguese.
Right?
I love the Portuguese language in Brazil better than Portugal.
Well,
I
it's
love
just
the
like
way Portuguese. Let me put it this way. I'm sorry. Let me be more clear and specific. I love the way women speak Portuguese.
well, it's just like
Brazil.
It's just like Spanish.
Brazil.
Women, Latin American women speaking Spanish is so much sexier than Spain speaking women.
Yeah.
It really
It's like
is.
listening to The Nanny in New York, the Bronx versus
Yeah.
Sofia Vergara.
It's like how does Wayne's World Garth? Sexy
Wayne's
lady.
World.
Oh my god.
Foxy.
Oh my god. That's
Foxy.
exactly
Foxy.
what's happening here. We have a Wayne's
Swing.
World. We have a Wayne's World podcast.
Game on.
Game on.
Game on. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I was talking to this Brazilian chick. We were kind of talking off and on, like on. It's
Also
funny.
in tequila?
No, she was in Brazil.
I
But,
don't know. Why?
dude,
why?
so
He's
okay.
got many adventures here.
So online, you meet a girl, and like 90% of the world outside the United States use WhatsApp. You can make a phone call on WhatsApp to anywhere in the world and it uses the internet, and you're talking to somebody on the other side of the
Well,
world.
my sister
no.
called me today, and she's in Panama.
No kidding.
Right? Like
WhatsApp
people
has connected people across countries.
across countries. I talked to this one girl this one time, and the reality of
Band camp?
and so the reality of it was like, "Oh, you're all the way across the world. I'm never going to go out there. Right? I will, and it won't be for like a year or two. You know what I mean? But it was like, I was like, Jesus, you're beautiful. And then she'd say something in Portuguese, and you're just like, I just made a mess of myself. I'm sorry.
Just made a mess
yeah.
of it.
It's like-
he's like planning his,
It's like,
his
can you,
financials. He's like,
can
how am
you,
I going to make this happen?
Can you say that again? God bless.
Oh
But
my God.
it's, and what's, but you know what's funny though?
Times, real slow.
Okay, but you know what's great though? So when you talk to people around the world and they want to say words in English. So like you go down to like Guadalajara, Mexico, and all that,
They wanna
Colombia,
practice their
and they want to say like an American word,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that sounds so much better when you say it.
Yeah.
It's like, why does it sound that beautiful in my country?
So when they say the word cletus,
I know. I was like, can you
it.
please say this for me?
Cletus.
Right?
What the hell? How weird.
So
Every word is
it's just beautiful.
It's just beautiful.
doesn't spell that way. That's okay.
That's okay.
It's
That's
penis.
fine.
Penis.
It's cletus. Cletus.
I thought it was bread, but okay.
Bread.
So okay, so
I'm here
that's
to buy some penis.
so that's Ukraine.
Oh, wait.
That's Ukraine.
I would like it whole wheat.
Oh,
This guy named. Well, I'm sorry, sir. We don't sell that here.
and then
But Mark
the
said
way
it's
and
pronounced
the way they say your name.
Penis.
So whenever
Marcus.
these girls like I meet, they say my name. They go Mark.
Mark.
Mark. It's like
they don't say mine that interesting. They just say it.
they say
normally.
Dario.
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 No, so they say ¿Cómo llama? I go pues Marcos.
Marcos.
And they go, but in English you say Mark, and they're like Mark. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, whoa. Whoa.
Okay.
How
we'll
do
get
you
to that.
function in Mexico?
I don't.
How are you able to
standing?
walk?
How are you able to walk and function? I mean,
I don't.
that's
I gotta
hours
sit down again, please.
podcast.
Excuse me. I gotta sit down again. So
May I have a
okay.
tissue, please.
So Ukraine's going on and all that, but just a small world. A girl from Georgia,
Yeah, that is weird.
Georgia.
That should be there.
and
Russia.
and I did ask her. I said, "Are there a lot of Russians going to Ukraine or Georgia?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "The Russians are swarming in because they don't want to go to the military."
Yeah.
She says, but so are the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have been swarming into Georgia too. And I go, what's that like? She goes, well, the Georgians, they feel for the Ukrainians because Georgia tried to separate, and the Russians put down the separatists hard. And so now that the Ukrainians are coming to Georgia, she goes, we welcome them in. And now that the Russians are coming too, because they're fleeing Moscow, they're fleeing Russia, people are being like kind of mean to them because they have a grudge against them. Again, because the Russians...
But it's not them; it's their leaders.
I know that.
It's so silly.
But yeah, it is silly.
It's so silly.
Can you blame a person not wanting to go fight in this war? You don't want to go fight in that war? You want to come over here? Fine, come on over.
I mean, you have that scenario anywhere. I mean, that's happened in U.S. history. You always had like war dodgers. You always had people who just like didn't believe in it.
Okay, but this is not just war dodging.
No,
people are flooding out of Russia.
Well, at the same time too, though, it's like I think we mentioned this earlier in the podcast about like it's kind of like, okay, so you have people trying to invade another country and then they're being told by their country that the Ukrainians are saying this and they're doing that and then you get
reality, out there and you're like, oh, what's going on?
Killing people and then they realize that that's all politics, but in the end game you're actually like seeing the people that you're trying to kill here and they're just like you.
Okay.
Trying to have a good quality of life.
New Netflix movie.
They probably speak like
so not a new Netflix movie, but a retelling of an old Netflix movie. Which Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you see that? And I read some of the reviews, and one of the reviews person said, "Oh, it's very dreary." But I kind of thought, and then I follow this historian called Dan Carlin, and I read what he wrote on there, and I go, and he was saying, "No, this is a really good movie because it shows how bad World War I was, how mundane it was, how dreary it was, how bloody it was." And even at the very end, when they're going to end and the Kaiser's still telling them, we still got like 10 minutes, you will go and fight. And the guys that didn't want to fight, they just shot them right there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing. This is 100 years ago now. And it's kind of still the same bullshit going on where they're like, no, you're going to go fight whether you like it or not. And you can't blame people for not wanting to fight because look what happened in World War I.
Yeah.
Guys were just led to the slaughter.
But at the same time, too, like there's a huge difference between what's happening now and then. And that's communication. There's internet, there's telephone.
It is. It's funny, though.
Connection.
It's the more different we are, the more the same we are.
We are all the same in a way.
Because we're fighting for different reasons. Back in World War I, imperialism, right? You had one imperial guy saber rattling, the other one saber rattling, and it all goes down.
Being told
and now it's just Putin. He wants the Russian Empire and the old Russian Empire to come back, and he's just this is just pure aggression.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's just ordering a bunch of kids off to the slaughter. And in 1915, they were still ordering kids to the slaughter too. And
I don't think you can do that now, though.
And like in Russia, as soon as that mobilization,
you can, but I don't think
as soon as
though,
the partial mobilization order came out in Russia, people hit the road and they were flooding to leave Russia. The men of military age, they don't want to go fight. First of all, because they saw how many. Okay. So
sorry, I had an inside joke just because we're seeing millennials and like the job trends. So like they were like, you know what? I have better options elsewhere. That's what happened.
Millennials happen and they ruined the military.
You know what? This is not
PC.
This is not PC.
Look I do not, I am not a him or a her. So where do my bears go?
I know, like I'm a they.
I do not really.
Where's
the they barracks? Because that's where
my
I'm going.
recruiter said that I didn't have to peel potatoes.
And you know what? You're calling me this? That's offensive.
That's offensive. I know. I find peeling potatoes offensive because I relate to them.
And I'm a female. Why are you putting me in this peeling potato role? That's offensive.
That's offensive.
Just because I'm a woman.
But okay.
I just had to throw that out there.
Freaking millennials ruining everything. Freaking millennials. We're the 80 kids. 80s kids.
Jeanette has been working in the HR department for a little bit.
Too long. 80s.
She's been doing some interviews.
Well, the 80s kids all stand up. They all run around outside barefooted, running around with the guns in their hands, just shooting everything they see.
Oh,
drinking.
I did meet somebody today that said hello to you, Jeanette.
Who is that? up?
Oh, what's his
Hannah?
name?
Who?
Hannah, in a German pronunciation, out in
Nursing department.
Oh.
Yeah.
out in
She was
TRC.
wonderful. Great gal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember her.
Shame on you for not remembering her, Jeanette.
I do remember her.
You know, you tell Hannah,
Stop.
I remember her. I say hello. I had to remind Jeanette who she was.
But it wasn't Hannah. It's like pronounced differently.
Hannah.
Something different because her parents were German and they pronounced it the German way.
Zeke Hannah.
No, it was. Hold
Siegel.
on, no. It was
Hey, click your boots when you say that.
3 times.
Oh my god.
Oh, please don't watch
It was
this.
Hala. Was it Hala?
Hannah? Hannah?
Hala. No, Hala. Was it Hala?
Hey.
Don't be a hater.
Don't be a
Damn it.
hater.
No, I'm serious.
Be accepting,
was
Jeanette.
Hannah.
Accept everybody
Hannah.
for who they are. Accept people for who they are. Their
You are not
backgrounds.
a millennial. Stop acting like one.
That is not acceptable,
You're
Jeanette.
not a millennial.
So you went to Mexico. You
Okay.
went to this beautiful tour, and then you just came home. You just like on the weekends. You're a global traveler now.
You know what though?
You're
It's
an
so
international
okay.
traveler.
So
Yes, like suddenly,
Let's
like
go to
our friend.
Cozumel. He goes to like inland.
So,
No,
territory.
he's
okay.
gonna take us to- he's
So-
gonna take us to
so here's the deal.
Colombia.
Let's go ahead and
As
talk
long
about
as we
this.
stay out of the way.
Jeanette, let's go ahead and talk about this. Okay, let's talk about this.
Okay.
So I keep on going to go back to the updates, but okay, we talked about Ukraine. You know, if you have a chance, watch all Quiet on the Western Front. The retelling. It's not based on. It's based on the original one, but it's not exactly the original one.
It
It's a
reminds me
retelling.
of the Fall of Stalingrad movie
Yes.
with Judd Law way back when.
Very dreary, and they show the horrors of war. Okay, I can't get off this.
Okay.
The movie All Quiet on the Western Front, it's so important because World War One happened 105 years ago now. I started 106 years ago now. And it's almost a forgotten war now. The first major war, like really just brutal war. I mean, all war is brutal, but it's almost like a forgotten war. Nobody's alive anymore. We don't celebrate anymore. We have Veterans Day and everybody has like Armistice Day or whatever and all that, but it's essentially like a forgotten war, and it's a really important war. And the longer we get away from it, even World War II, we have like Saving Private Ryan and all that, but even those stories, they're falling by the wayside. And as soon as you forget things, history has
History
I
repeats
almost
itself.
feel like we have more memories of World War II
right.
than Vietnam War or Korean War.
A Korean War, they call it the Forgotten War. It's called the Forgotten War. We lost 58,000 Americans there. And it wasn't a war originally. It was considered a policing action.
Jeez.
My father fought there. So, okay, but World War One,
Yeah, some of those Cheez-Its.
oh, they're amazing. I love these.
Did you bring these from Colombia also?
Yes, they're Colombian Cheez-Its.
Oh, thank God
So-
that was empty. There you go.
But I think people need to watch that war, and if you think it's dreary or something, I think it's good because it shows the brutality of war. And there's a historian that spoke about it, and he says if you read firsthand accounts of World War One, he goes, it's so much worse. Like the movie was pretty bad. It showed a lot of stuff, very Saving Private Ryan-ish. You know what I mean? But it still could have been so much war. Just like when they're talking about World War One veterans, and they talk about the land on D-Day, as bad as it was on Saving Private Ryan, the real life thing was just so much
It
worse.
just seems like a lot of confusion with like. Are you talking about? Oh wait, I'm sorry. You're talking about like Normandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of confusion.
Well, it
because,
is a lot of
like, how
confusion.
do you-
People
how-
are
okay,
dying
so
and being blown
people
up.
But not only that, there's a lot of crossfire. There's like a lot of like being probably killed by your own.
Not on D-Day. Not on D-Day. Not on
Nor-
D-Day.
You don't
You're
think-
you're being killed by the crossfire of the German guns. So the one thing Saving Private Ryan didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't show you the exact emplacements of the German machine guns. The German machine guns were set up in crossfires.
Because it just seems so confusing.
And so
like you're just
soldiers
gonna
were
die.
being mowed down. So you think about that though. You're thinking about, I just need to go somewhere and hide, or if not, those 50 cal guns, like a 50 cal gun hits you in the arm, your arm's gone. Hits you in the leg, your leg's gone. It hits you in the gut, your intestine fall because the hole is just so big. And did I ever tell you about that? The
It must have been just like the zombie movies. One zombie hits the fence, the next zombie goes up a little bit higher over the fence, the next zombie. You know, by the time you got
There's-
100 zombies, they're over the wire.
Oh my God! Dude,
Okay, I gotta tell you,
saw that.
you brought up a really good thing.
that zombie movie,
You got
World War Z.
Okay, I gotta tell you about this. Okay, so Big Red One was on the beach in Normandy. They had Saving Private Ryan. That they were part of Big Red One. They had the one on their helmets. They had a part on it, but on the on Omaha, that's where we lost the most troops. The 29th Division was on Omaha Beach. The 29th Division was the youngest division on the beach. Do you know why they did that? That was actually done intentionally. Because you had all your guys that had gone to Africa, that were fighting in Italy, that were getting all sorts of really important experience. And so they had to put together...
They put the youngest to be...
Yeah, they put the youngest, most inexperienced guys to go in on the first wave on Omaha, knowing that they were going to have the highest casualties just because they know they couldn't expend the most experienced guys first.
Wow.
And so like the Big Red One, the average age they said was something like 20, 21, 22.
They were veterans.
That they were like at 21, 22, you're already a veteran, right? But the 29th Division, and I hope I'm not butchering this too much, but like the average age was like 18.
And this is the stuff they don't tell you.
This is the stuff that they don't tell you. And they had like the 29th Division had something like 70 or 80% casualties.
God.
Kids being mowed down. Now, for granted, World War II was a little bit different, though. It's not like a war like Vietnam. It's not a war like even like Iraq. World War I was a war that there was real evil going on. People were being slaughtered for being Jewish. Like there was stuff going on, right? Yeah. But the first wave to hit that beach on Omaha were like full of 18-year-olds that
So
their lives were
couldn't
just
the
dying.
guns of the carriers take out
So
that whole
there was
mile in?
There was a massive bombardment. So there was a naval bombardment. Then the night before there was the Air Force bombed, but it was really cloudy, so they missed a lot of the encampments. Then the 88s were behind the lines. 88s that had the beaches zeroed in already, but the machine gun nests that were in the pillboxes, like you're talking about a pillbox is cement that's like a foot or two thick. Unless they get it just right,
hit, then.
They're not gonna it's reinforced concrete. It's hard to blow that up. So and like I say, and the Germans were smart. The Germans are the best at what they do. So they set up crossfires. I mean, so there was
they did it also inland. Mm-hmm. In the fields.
But there's a couple of historians that do these videos that show you they go on the Normandy beach and they show you
to that museum. If I ever go to Normandy, there's no way I can go with anybody else.
Yeah,
because I will be there for hours watching. If somebody says I'm bored, Dad, I need to go to get a taco.
No,
fuck you.
Fuck you.
I know.
It's like
I'm going to be here for 3 days and then I'll move on to the next museum.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm going to be here for like an hour.
The USS Texas was off the coast of Normandy, I believe.
Oh my gosh!
And they were
so sorry.
So they were getting calls from the beach that they needed help. So they got as close as they could to the beach to give direct fire support because the guys were getting slaughtered. Jeez. Because they had the tanks that had the flotation devices, but they were all getting floundered in the channel because of those rough waves, and none of the armor was getting on the beach. So they went to the beach to give that direct fire to help them out because it was such a turkey shoot. So had Omaha not been taken, the whole invasion would have been called off because it would have been such a big gap in the line.
I was going to say this is our museum tour guide.
What a mess.
So
anyway,
it's interesting.
Let's move on.
Okay, it's funny that you say that because I want to go over something later. We're talking about different topics and all that. So so watch those movies. Watch. You have to. I think if anybody watches anything, they have to watch this World War I movie. Because
five movies though that would impact someone's opinion about war.
War's horrible.
I know, but five top movies. Curious.
I think if you watch a really good war movie, you'll be anti-war. Granted, if you knew you had to go to war for a cause, like, hey, this is the good war, let's go do it. You'll do it, right? Okay. Saving Private Ryan.
Red Dawn.
Okay. Red Dawn's good, but Red Dawn's fictional. It's fictional.
Are you talking about like maybe
Patrick Swayze?
Okay.
Platoon. Platoon.
Full Metal Jacket.
Platoon. Okay, you know what's interesting about Full Metal Jacket?
It's about. Yeah. I'm okay. Go ahead.
Oliver Stone. Did he do Platoon also?
I don't know.
No. Scorsese did Full Metal Jacket. Oliver Stone did Platoon. And you know when you watch about Platoon, you see about the plight of the soldier, like what he's going through, Charlie Sheen, and how the friendships, the fighting going on, and all that. Oliver Stone was an infantryman in the army, so he was there. So you're not getting secondhand accounts, somebody going there to research it. No, Oliver Stone was there. He felt these things, and he's telling the movie through his eyes.
Okay, well, tell me it's something that like maybe a modern day that people could relate to. What would be a recommendation?
Green Zone.
Green Zone? What's Green Zone? I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that either.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so the protagonist is all gung ho looking for the chemical weapons from Saddam Hussein. They keep going out on these raids, and all they find are grains, old storage of like grain, and there's nothing there ever. They all go in with hazmat suits, with radiation detectors. There's nothing there.
Jarhead. Jarhead, because what's his name? Joins the army. He did, and the drill sergeant says, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "I got lost going to school."
That Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. But it's funny because they're going, he's a sniper, and Jamie Foxx, and they're all out there, just, they don't really get engaged, but they're always going out there. And Jake Gyllenhaal with his spotter, they get a mission, and they go out there, they sight this guy, and suddenly somebody comes in and calls them off and says, "No, we're gonna just take them all out with the Air Force." And his spotter gets mad. He goes, "We've been out here. This is what we've been trained to do." It was about the kills, like getting it done. And they took it away from him at the end. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, though, I'm kind of curious. What is this Green Zone?
I haven't seen Green Zone.
Green Zone, it's the zone of containment that.
In Baghdad. It was the safe zone.
The safe zone that nobody was supposed to go outside. But then when you did, that's when you went out to on the
in a danger
missions to
zone.
go look.
So funny story. I don't know if I told you this. A really good friend of mine named Kevin. I won't say his last name. We went to college together. He even lived with me for a little while. Really great guy. He was in the guard. He was in the guard.
It was Kevin Spacey.
It
was Kevin Spacey.
No, this guy was a really cool guy, but he was in the guard here in New Mexico, and he did like I don't know how many tours. Then now he's with. I think he said he was going to go like Blackwater to security because they pay so much money, but he was in the Green Zone. And
Green Zone.
He was there in Baghdad. It was the Green Zone, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was stationed there and whatnot. And he said he was walking down the street one day, and he sees his dad across the street.
So he was already dead.
No, he saw his father across the street.
I was gonna say like
no,
a dream.
like his legit dad. His dad. He saw his dad across the street. Goes sees what his dad's doing. Like, what are you doing here? His dad was a contractor to set up the waterworks.
And they didn't know it.
They didn't know it.
They didn't know that each other was there.
He had a double life. His dad had a double life.
I know, right?
Holy
no,
crap.
I knew his dad, but like imagine you're a soldier in a war zone, and suddenly like, oh crap, my father's here.
Yeah.
What does that change your perspective? Does that kind of like make you kind of like, and like what kind of goes through your mind? Like every time you hear an explosion, suddenly you're like, dude, is my dad okay?
Well, or especially if you didn't even know your dad was going to be there.
Or even his dad. His dad. Like, say you're there doing work in a war zone. You run into your son. Every time you hear gunfire and explosion, you're like, because at that time, a lot of American GIs were being sniped, coming back with horrible wounds because the insurgency, that's what they were doing really good at, sniping soldiers on the machine guns, on the Humvees and all that before they got the turrets that protected them. Suddenly you're thinking as a dad, God, I hope my son wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, kind of just talk about bringing it home. No, it's no longer a game.
Okay, let's lighten the load here because I'm getting down on
Dario just said load.
This is all getting down. Let's dump this story.
Okay. So anyways,
positive.
watch those movies. They're really good movies. They're really important because you can't forget history. It's super important, and they're very realistic because movies now are so much better than what they were when movies came out like in the 50s. The Longest Day.
Yeah.
That's the movie I wish. Oh, hold on real fast before we go on. But a movie I wish that they would remake would be The Longest Day. Because you have, with John Wayne, The Invasion of Normandy, Anthony Quinn, John Wayne, Sean Connery, like all these big names were in it. And it was like D-Day. It was just about D-Day.
Yeah.
And it's in black and white, but it's made in like in the 50s. So you know like effects in the 50s,
Yeah, no.
right?
Probably wouldn't
Still
wanna
a good
watch it.
story, but just not very
But
not
could you
much
imagine
interesting.
watching a remake of The Longest Day now with the effects we have now and the realism now? It would really show like, okay, this was really bad.
Yeah,
And I think stuff like that's important. Again, you can't forget that war is not something you read in a book. And it's just not like, oh, we fought and this is bad. No, it brings it to life in a way that people need to know
yeah.
everywhere. All right, moving on. Okay, so that's the recap there. But so Mexico.
We are all in healthcare,
Okay,
folks. We
so
are not.
I know, right? So okay, so
Just a reminder.
when I got to Tequila, so I get to Guadalajara, and it's beautiful. I get a beautiful. I've been staying in Airbnbs everywhere, like $40 a night, and they're beautiful. It's like a hacienda style. It's like enclosed. There's like a pool inside. They have lights hanging across. It's beautiful. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And so, and mind you, I leave.
$40 a night.
Yeah, Airbnb, $45. So I left straight from work to go to Mexico. So I'm still dressed up in my work clothes all day. But finally get there, pick up my partner in crime, and we go out there, and it's all good and it's all fun. And then, okay, so you always want to go for the authentic Mexican experience, like Nacho Libre, right? You know, Nacho or the three amigos, the senoritas dressed in their little outfits and all that, sombreros.
No.
So I'm waiting for
Oh
that.
my God.
I'm waiting for all that. And like the further I get away from the United States, the more authentic it gets.
What is your
so,
name? El Zorro.
El Zorro. Me llamo Marcos. Don Marcos. So I get Monterrey is still not far. It's very from the United States. It's a very metro city. Been out there a couple times already. So we get to Guadalajara. It's very authentic. The buildings, you can just see the history everywhere you turn. Right, and then it's mixed in with modern day stuff. The traffic is getting it's still kind of Mexico crazy. It's not Colombia crazy, but it's Mexico crazy. So we're determined we're going to go on a tequila tour. So we go to the plaza. We start asking around everybody tequila tours, and one person says this and this, and so finally they have like a little booth there. A girl, really pretty girl's working this little booth, and that's her whole job. She works for the city, and she just hands like the little flyers and answers people's questions. And she says,
Like Las Vegas when they
Yeah.
give you the little flyers.
yeah, except these
tourism.
people were clothed. They don't dance for you that way.
They don't dance for you that way.
So she gives us a pamphlet. She says, "Go on the Grand Tequila Tour."
Okay.
The Grand Tequila Tour. And,
Sign me up.
Sign me up. And she's like, well, she says, you're going to take this tour to Monterrey or to Tequila, and you'll go to two tequila places, and they'll show you how they make the tequila. They'll show you the fields and all that stuff, and it's kind of cool. And then she goes, then there's this one, it's called the Grand Tour, and you're going to stop at one tequila place on the way in. And she says, there's going to be they're going to show you everything. You're going to sample all the tequilas. They're going to have mariachi music. And you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
All the tequilas. Can
So-
you imagine?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you're
And
like
then-
a kid in a
And then
candy store at
my
this
partner in
point.
crime, she doesn't drink tequila straight like I do.
Yeah.
So I was drinking all of hers too. So we get there and we're walking around the agave fields, and then our tour guide name is Blanca, and everybody loves her because she's just she knows all the Spanish songs, and so she knows all the saying. So she's saying like all these really cute Spanish sayings that relate to tequila that were from like the old Spanish songs, and all the Mexicans there, they all knew them. They would all sing with her, and I'd be like, oh, I wish I knew them.
I wish I knew
I wish I
them.
knew. I wish I listened
wish I
to
knew.
Vicente Fernandez growing up. Oh,
There's a movie, by the way. I haven't seen it anyway, but
oh,
just kind of put it.
that's
in there.
random. There's a movie.
I know. I'm sorry. There's a movie, but
Dario,
cool.
there's a movie.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
There's a movie. So we're going around, and she's telling us about like how the tequila's made and all that, and da da da. We see where they mash it and all that. They have a big round stone that goes around in circles. It's driven by a little mechanical device. It's no longer pulled by donkeys or burros and bulls and all that. And
It's very cool.
It's
very cool to the animals.
And so when we were on the bus, she says, which package of the Grand Tour on? Are you going to get the samples, or do you actually want to sit and eat? They're like, there's food? And she goes, yeah, I'll pay the extra for the food, right? So we pay for the whole package for the food and all that. We get to this place, and then they do the tour. They show you how it's all made. They show you where the tequila's kept, the casks and all that. And it's really cool, really pretty. And then you get to the store, and right there in front of the little store, they're just serving you samples of all the tequila. And they even gave you the Mexican prayer like toast that you're supposed to say before you drink your tequila. Oh, I don't have it on me here.
Recite your address so that when you pass out, they can bring you home.
You're gonna have to give me. You're gonna have to give me a few seconds to Google this to see if I can find it. The Mexican prayer, the tequila prayer, and man, I was 3 sheets to the wind fast. The tequila was good. It was sweet. It was tasty. You know, you never when you drink a tequila.
The tequila that is in that. In your flask there. It's wonderful.
Open
it, just smell it. It's wonderful.
Do you ever drink like a tequila, and when you drink it, you make that squinty face, and you're like, oh.
I know it didn't feel like that.
The tequila that I was drinking, you're just like swirling it around in your mouth like wine, and you're like, that's good.
Why did you bring us the 5-year tequila?
Because it was expensive.
Smell it? Oh.
You want to smell it?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna open it and let us smell it.
No, I'll let you open it and smell it.
Damn it. Can we taste it?
Jeanette can't open anything tonight anyways.
I know.
It's like more, it's older than a Reposado, so it has more of an oaky taste.
Can we like take a taste?
Yeah, you can take a taste.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, go for it.
Being generous.
And then everybody is drinking out of these. Everybody's drinking their tequila out of these.
Wow. Out of like
They're like clay jars.
Yeah.
What do they do?
And matter of fact, mine is still in Mexico. So I need to get mine because I really liked it. And
I can open it.
You can open it. You can do this. You can do this.
I can do this.
While you do that, I'm actually gonna see if I can find like the tequila pair, right?
Find the tequila pair before we. Okay, can we have it? Shot glasses.
All this
or
is
a small like.
Try it. Smell it. Yeah.
I'm gonna smell it. You're like, I don't want you to take a shot. Can we have at least a little toast? Like, to the tequila. Can we have a tequila prayer?
Tastes like some of that hand sanitizer that we used to get in the beginning of COVID. Remember that?
Oh my! It's like Christmas.
It's like Christmas.
It's like freaking. It has like cookies. A sweetness and a spice to it. Like, oh my god! It's like spice. Christmas here. You can't apparently.
It's really good, right?
Yeah, I don't want to swig it, but here. But I needed to smell it because that. Ooh, that's lovely.
Pour yourself a little swig if you have something to pour it into.
I don't.
Here, put a little bit in that little terracotta pot there.
All right. What do you think, Dario?
I don't know. I'll drink some of yours. You go ahead. Let's see what happens to you.
Ooh.
It
was sealed.
If you go blind, then I won't have any.
It was 5 years. So 5 years blind?
It's real. It's like really good.
Wait, are you sure that's
Are we really going to do this?
Do it.
It's a spittoon.
No,
I haven't
not. This is what he's putting his drinks in.
I haven't spit in it.
It's like a uterus.
I haven't spit in it.
Actually, we need a proper glass. Wait, hold on. We have a proper glass.
No, we don't have a proper glass.
Damn it.
Okay, well, you'll eventually get around to it.
I guess.
Again, this is called Convivencia.
It's beautiful.
Convivencia.
We're all afraid to taste it because we're going to go blind.
It's super. It's just super good. The Blanco is just amazing. And
so what's considered the best tequila?
This is supposed to be like one of the really good ones. Because there's like 5 tequilas there that don't go to the stores. You can't buy it at Costco, Sam's. You can't buy it like at the Kelly's. There's like a handful of them that are just like special orders to.
Do you remember when we did the experiment?
What experiment?
The
filtration. The filtration, the vodka, putting it through the cheap vodka through the Brita filter.
We put it through the Brita filter. I think that was amazing.
So that was interesting, right? Okay, so what we did, we got vodka. And so this was kind of like what do you call it?
We needed to see if
like
all
a
the,
YouTube,
It was
TikTok thing.
yeah, it was like a
Aged- it
TikTok
was
thing.
aged
Yeah.
Vodka, 5 minutes.
So what people are
Vodka.
so what people were
little
doing,
rougher on the edges.
they
And it was Smirnoff. So
they
it was Smirnoff,
they
right?
were running tequila through
It was
a Brita,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're saying that it really makes it taste better. And we were with it, right? We ran it through the Brita filter once. We ran it through it twice. And every time we ran it through it, it got better and better.
Okay, Jeanette, hand me the Convivencia.
Oh, you want to try it?
I'm going to put like 2 ounces in here.
So as soon as we started running through the Brita filter, it just got better and better, right?
Right.
And then I don't know who thought of this or how, but we were like, hey, let's light it on fire.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember that, Dario? We lit it on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Dario lit it on fire.
And-
check the alcohol content.
And suddenly, what we found was the tequila that we're running, or the tequila,
Oh, my God. This is delicious.
Isn't it delicious?
It's not as good as. Can I have it?
and it doesn't kill you on the way
A
in.
little bit more in there. I
No,
need
I'm
to try
sorry,
it.
Jeanette. You better not have this.
It's
Oh no!
This is
like
Dario, I
crack.
hate
If
I
you
hate
taste
so
this,
much.
no, you'll never go back.
Convivencia tequila.
We'll never.
Holy
What are you
That's the
talking about?
5
You
year-
and I are never going back.
It's amazing tequila. I
Can
wish
we
I would have
try
got the
it?
Blanco.
Oh,
Dario-
my
I
God.
actually want to see if I can order the
No,
Blanco.
seriously.
Recording it.
There's something, this is not tequila. There's something different with this.
It's
Oh my God! It's
5 years old
No,
tequila.
but it has sugar. It's
So
like
much
maple
flavor.
syrup.
It's sweet. Matter of fact,
Oh,
I bought my
I hate it
I'm
ball.
gonna have to finish that.
I bought.
Look at Jeanette.
I'm
Jeanette
like,
is sweating.
oh,
She's
I'm
like, I
like,
can't wait.
I'm like, I can't
So,
wait.
Hand it to
Stop,
me,
stop,
damn it.
stop.
Hand it to me.
Why?
I
Why
bought my
did
mom
you
a
do
big
this?
bottle of tequila syrup.
I just want to taste it.
The miel de agave.
Oh, it does
Because
so good.
they get so much sugar out of their agaves. They get so much sugar out of their agave,
Are you freaking kidding me?
and the Blanco, and the
That
Blanco,
is not tequila.
yeah, and the Blanco, the tequila Blanco,
Finish it.
No, I
So-
did. Oh wait,
their tequila Blanco, it was sweet.
every last drop.
But the tequila blanco is like the lowest of the
Holy
low.
crap!
Right, it's aged the least amount.
That
Right.
is Christmas morning.
This
Right.
This I could put on top of ice cream. And serve
Right,
for
it's
dessert.
delicious,
That
right?
is Christmas morning
So
right there.
even
is
the
the most
Blanco,
delicious
just
tequila
a
I've ever
regular
had.
tequila that's not sweet, or that's not aged, it was super sweet.
This is like this is not the normal tequila that people would have.
that is super
Yeah.
special, dude.
And so
That's special.
so buying it straight from the guy
Ooh,
there,
That's awesome.
not buying it from a store here marked up or anything, I paid $80 for that bottle.
$80 for the bottle.
Okay, so how
In
much do you think that?
Mexico?
Honestly, how much? Just tasting that, how much do you think that would be worth now?
Here-
like we're here
here.
in the States.
If you could find, because they don't sell it on the shelves here. They don't sell.
Honestly,
that
I
brand.
would think that's a $300
Google,
bottle.
Amazon.
$300
No way. No way. $300 for a bottle of tequila?
for that.
No.
200,
This is
250.
I would not. No. No,
150.
I've never seen a
No
bottle.
way,
for
no way, because that is smooth.
Costco has a bottle of tequila.
Not
that's
like that.
beautiful,
Not like
beautiful.
that.
And that's the best one I've ever had.
Not like that.
But this is even better.
Well, okay, so how much did you pay for your Costco?
Size of the bottle.
Okay.
Azul or
See-
something like that. Costco has like this really high end tequila.
What do you think? Okay, if you were to
So
get like
okay.
a fifth of that,
So
what
so
would
and it's
that
funny because
cost?
when I was there, I was
Uh-huh.
talking to these Italian guys that were there. They were there with the girl from Georgia.
It is so it's a
like
beautiful
Licor
taste.
43 or something like that.
So I was talking to these guys, and I'm trying to find the Convivencia online. See, I can't find it.
Well, I'm also taking into consideration inflation.
Oh my God, wait a minute. This
Come
tequila
on.
that you brought us
Is reposado?
is also Convivencia.
Yes.
So does
Yes,
it
it's
taste
the
as
same-
good?
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
That's
it's not as good.
That's reposado. It's not as aged.
It's
as
not
one's
as
out.
good as this one, but it is pretty freaking good.
I think the reposado is aged up to 2 years.
it was really delicious.
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
so
really
I
good.
believe
19
the
years old.
reposado is aged up to 3 years, but the one I got was aged 5 years. It was just so good. See, even Googling it, I can't find any Convivencia that you can just buy online.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So, I mean, but if anybody can order Convivencia tequila, it's well worth it. If you want a great tequila.
I'm not, honestly, it is great tequila.
That is amazing.
Because I'm not a huge, like, I like
And you know I drink a lot of tequila, right?
Okay, for me, I don't drink a lot of tequila. For me, it's once in
and
a
you know, and
3 year.
Yeah. And so what they were saying is like, if you get a good tequila and you drink it all night, you're not going to get a hangover. He says,
I believe it.
He says, really good tequila does.
I believe it.
You do not get a hangover.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are both 38% alcohol.
Yeah. You better drink it before it penetrates the plastic. You can get plastic taste in it.
You serious?
Well, yeah. Remember alcohol in the plastic just doesn't taste as good?
It's pretty
Isn't
good,
that good? The Reposado?
It's really good.
That's
It's like,
really good.
It's Christmas morning.
Isn't
I'm
it
telling
really
you.
good? I wish I
It's
would have
like-
gotten just a couple of the
it's
Blanco
spicy,
bottles.
it's
They were just so good.
It's like I don't know, not spicy, but to me, like
It's maple syrup.
it's very fragrant.
It's very
it
sweet.
tastes like the maple syrup infused bacon.
And so he says,
yes.
so the guy says when you drink the tequila, he says, inhale, drink your tequila, swirl it around your mouth.
It's like wine.
And then he says, drink it in and just exhale after that. He says, there's no reason for you to gag or to be like, make that funny face if you have good tequila. And can you see that with that tequila there?
Oh,
It's
this
wonderful.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful tequila.
So, okay. So you want the Mexican experience? We get to this place. The mariachi band comes out. Everybody's singing. Everybody's dancing. And I'm like, okay, this is like the Mexico you envision. Like just a random fiesta, tons of food, tons of tequila. Everybody's dancing.
What type of food?
We had tacos with like a meat made with a meat. We had rice, beans, enchiladas, tortillas. It was like good. And then the Jaimaca water, like
oh yeah.
yeah, and it was good. Then they had like a flan on chocolate cake, really
Choco
good.
flan. Choco flan.
No,
Is that the choco flan?
no, choco flan is choco flan. This is just
Is it
like it was like a layer of flan on chocolate cake, but it was so good.
So there's a huge, you know how RVers
I feel like I keep
are
sliding off
looking
my
for
chair.
places to go.
Yeah,
A lot of people are starting RV parks in Mexico.
I believe it.
They're getting away from the U.S. taxes,
I believe it.
rat race, whatever.
Dude,
And right
it's
now,
People
just
want the simple life.
It's
they're living on the beach in an RV park, plugged in with an AC.
So
wiring,
here's the
bathroom.
thing. Here's the thing to think about. You think about the cartels and all that, and I think it was on my first drive into Mexico when I was asking like for tips from the Uber driver. I said, "Hey, it's my first time going to Mexico. Any tips?" No, that's when I was in Mexico when the cartel invaded the town.
Oh,
yeah, you got
shoot.
stuck
Oh
at
yeah.
that
You
hotel.
were
Yeah,
telling me
and
about
he
that.
was telling me like
Everybody disappeared.
And he said, "Hey, just keep an eye on your phone on maps. Make sure they're taking you where they say they're taking you. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And they're not going to charge you extra money." And he says honestly, it's fun. It's beautiful. He says, if you don't go look for trouble, you're not going to find trouble. And he says, yeah, in Mexico, if you're in a bad place, you might get caught up in something. Because it's
But it's
down,
kind of the same.
down
That's
south.
kind of the same everywhere, though.
If you go to Detroit,
Yeah.
you can find yourself in trouble. But he
Yeah.
says, for the most part, he says, if you don't go looking for trouble, you're not going to find it. Just stay in the population areas, go to the good places, talk to people and all that. But he says, if you want to find trouble, you're going to find it. Matter of fact, when I was down in Juarez the Halloween weekend, we went to this club, music, it was cool. It's funny because they do that.
That's
You were
his
dressed
club.
up as
That's his
What?
club. That's his club.
No,
don't even know how to do that.
but they do that though. They do that though, right? They have that music,
Yep.
and then suddenly you have the mariachi music. Dun, 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 dun. No, every mariachi song. Bum, 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 bum. So we were at this club, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and there's a guy. This way. I go in there, and I'm waiting to use the urinal, and there's this guy. He has like this little tin of like mints, and he goes, "Oh, I got pajaritos. Get un pajarito." And I was like,
A pajarito.
is it laced with something?
"A pajarito is." I didn't. I meant to look it up to see what a pajarito was, but they weren't mints. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, No, not this time. I'm not gonna do this here.
How much was it?
I didn't ask. But there are people. I mean, I've been in the
But is that the bathroom? Did they have a bathroom attendant, the cologne,
yeah.
and that gives you the towel and
Yeah. So I'm trying to look up what does a pajarito mean. Because it means bird, right? And birds means to get high,
Oh,
right?
really?
Oh,
So he's offering you a pajarito.
Like, you know when
it sounds like
the
roofies.
cartoons,
It sounds like roofies to
when you
me.
see the stars, the birds would go around
the
the
stars.
head
Yeah.
of
So-
the little cartoon.
Now there's one site here calling
Tweaky
pajaritos
and-
magic
Pajaritos.
mushrooms, but these were pills. I wish I would have gotten a closer look at what the pills were. But there was a guy just standing there in the bathroom asking if you wanted to buy. So
I remember when I was in a club in Mexico City, the guys would offer tachas,
yeah.
and apparently there was ecstasy.
Yeah. So,
No thanks, I'll have the mouthwash.
but so tequila was fun. It was like if you think about like Mexico, little via like music and all that. That's what this first place was. Then we took the bus and we went into Tequila because this was right outside Tequila, and all the time you're driving by acres and acres of agave fields. Funny thing about the agave, they don't water them. Acres and acres of agave. It's all just all rainwater. He says
Brilliant.
He
How are they
says
going to get affected? How do they get affected by climate change?
I didn't ask, but they were just saying they naturally get enough rainwater because if they get too much rain, they start to rot and you get bugs.
So basically, you have to plant them in the right area.
And it takes 8 years for one agave plant to be ready. 8 to 10 years.
God.
So it's an investment because you're rotating all your crops. You have this field that was planted 2 years ago, this one that was planted 4 years ago, what have you.
That's too much of an investment.
What we just drank was the fruits of their labor.
Right.
Oh my
And
God.
beautiful.
And even this one
It's
here
beautiful.
was good. Wow.
And
thank you.
If I'm trying to think of what the equation was for something like a gallon of tequila, it takes something like 20 to 30 pounds of agave to make a gallon of tequila.
Holy crap.
Nectar of the gods.
Right? That's what they call it, right? That's what they call it, like a
Do
gift, the gift of the gods or something of the gods.
Nectar de los dioses.
No, it wasn't nectar, but it was like the drink of the gods or something. It was a gift of the gods, I think he
That
said.
was chocolate.
I think he said it was a gift of the gods.
Chocolate.
And, So then my
Nectar de
next
los
stop
dioses.
is
we're going to kidnap you, and we want your weight in ransom, your weight in nectar.
I feel like we're starting to melt down. And
I
I
know.
haven't drank in a while, so yeah.
You're melting down.
I know,
No,
for real, I
So
am.
so my next stop was Jose Cuervo, the Jose Cuervo factory.
How cool is that?
Beautiful, beautiful hacienda. Now, big difference from Convivencia. Small operation. They had the stone wheel that mashes the piñas and all that stuff.
Okay. Your partner in crime. Did you know them from before?
Yeah, from Monterrey.
Oh,
This is okay. Yes.
how did they get to Guadalajara from Monterrey?
They flew from Monterrey.
They flew together.
No, I flew from Juarez.
Oh, but she flew from there.
Right. So for me, it was a 3-hour flight. For her, it was like an hour and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
she got on the right flight,
Yeah.
and then you met up. And so, does she have a sister?
Yeah. She's married, kid, something like that. Yeah.
You're
Cousin?
gonna have to go find your own Dario.
Your
Dario.
little cousin,
I think there's
A
somebody
little
though.
cousin.
I could talk to you about this
offline.
offline. I've got hookups for you, my friend.
All right,
So,
guys.
anyways,
Well, we
so-
have gone a little bit long. Can we?
So, anyways, the Jack Daniel's distillery, very cool, very beautiful hacienda.
As well,
As
Jack
well-
Daniels.
Not Jack
Daniels?
Daniels, Jose Cuervo. Jose Cuervo.
I was gonna say, like, really?
I keep on saying Jack Daniels, but Jose
Jose.
Cuervo.
Yeah.
Jack, Jose,
Can
Jack,
I get some cheese nips? I need some cheese nips.
Jacko, Jose.
He needs a snack.
So, it's a
Give
big.
him some
So
carbs.
it's a big difference. It's a big difference from like a boutique tequila shop that makes really good tequila, like to Jose Cuervo. Like Jose Cuervo, it just has a certain taste, right? You drink Jose Cuervo and it's like, it's different. It's not like this.
Oh, it's terrible.
No.
You could tell the difference in
Jose
the.
Cuervo terrible.
This is
it's
caramel.
terrible.
This is
It's
like
caramel.
This is
right?
like Godiva chocolate.
Right, compared
you know?
to like
Hershey's.
Not even Hershey's. I don't know. I don't know what kind of chocolate you can compare to. Like if Walmart had its own Sam's Choice chocolate that it made, it'd be
Which was
Sam's
like
Choice
waxy
chocolate. Yeah,
and kind of
but
gray.
It was still cool
but
though.
there's an audience for every
Oxidized.
taste, though.
So
For every
so,
flavor, there's an audience for every flavor.
Of the top-
That's what she said.
So of the top 3 most recognized and the top 3 selling liquors in the world, Jose Cuervo's in the top 3.
Well, yeah.
Do you know
I
who?
imagine
Do you know
so.
the top 3 recognized liquors in the world are?
Champagne.
Okay, so I would say Jose Cuervo for real.
We know Jose Cuervo's one. It's like in 200 countries or something.
I
like
would
that.
say like something like that Sansa,
Right.
or Don Julio or
I
something.
drove by the Sava
Don
plantation though.
Julio.
No, I'm Smirnoff.
Patron?
I think Smirnoff is number
Smirnoff
one.
for tequila?
No. The top 3 alcohols in the world.
Oh, I'm thinking like tequila.
Okay, top 3 alcohols in the world.
Something
Alcohol in the world.
Jack Daniels.
No.
Okay, so Smirnoff, Jose Cuervo. Okay, so
There's
there's
one more
another one.
of the top 3. One
Ooh,
more.
this
You
is
guys,
interesting.
you guys should know what this is.
We would
Really?
know. Yeah, it's got to be a whiskey.
Would it be like?
No, not a whiskey.
It's not a whiskey. What is
It
it?
would be like a vodka.
Bacardi.
Bacardi,
Oh, Bacardi.
rum.
The
Rum.
top three most recognized labels and the top selling liquors in the world: Smirnoff vodka, Bacardi rum, and Jose Cuervo tequila.
Oh,
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Mind blown. My
Mind
mind
blown.
is blown. It's blown up.
Drop the mic.
Actually, it's
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
If I could drop this without making a thud, I would.
Is it really blown up though? I mean, for real, it's all over the shelf.
I know, right?
I mean, it
But-
really is.
But Jose Cuervo was cool. You could smell the pines roasting. You go back there and you see the guy with an axe chopping the pines. He throws them into the. They load them into the roasters. You get to see the guy raking them out of the roasters and the pines being shredded and all that. They go.
But
to,
I imagine a Jose Cuervo though would be like if you were to go to their actual site,
it's-
it'd probably be more delicious.
that was the
because,
actual
like,
site. That was
yeah.
the actual site. He was saying something like,
So you did go
There's-
to the
yeah.
Jose Cuervo tequila
Yeah.
site, okay?
"Yeah,
And nothing special about that. It was terrible.
really cool, really really cool."
It was cool?
It was very cool. Tons of people. They had like the original trucks there for like that the workers used to go to work in. They
But the
like,
tequila did it taste different?
It was just like it was
kinda like
it was
when
the
you
same.
go-
It was the same Jose Cuervo you know here.
Really?
Yeah,
It's kind of like when you have like Heineken here in the States and you have Heineken in Holland.
it's like
The
it's like when you
Heineken
drink.
in Holland is a little bit
It's like
different.
when you drink Corona in Mexico and you're like,
Yes.
why is Corona in Mexico so much better?
Or why is
Is it
or why
really
is
different?
Mexican Coke
don't
in
know, it's good.
the bottle in Mexico tastes a little
Oh,
bit
but that
different
we
from
know.
the Coke in the bottle in
That's a
Because they
different
put
US.
they put cocaine in the Coca-Cola down there. Come on, Jeanette.
God,
And it's still you can still buy Coca-Cola in glass jars down there.
but it tastes so good over there.
It's different. It's a sugar, different sugar.
Damn.
It's white sugar.
Why should?
Cane sugar. I mean, I don't know.
But
Instead
the
of
thing
high
about there is a
fructose.
difference. There's a difference where you get it.
It's the Escobar white sugar special.
Interesting. The Escobar.
The white
that would be in
powders.
Colombia. That would be in Colombia.
Quick question: Why was Coca? What was the main reason for the invention of Coca-Cola?
Cocaine.
No,
Medicine.
it was
It
an
was a
elixir.
seltzer,
It
yeah.
was like a cure-all elixir.
Oh, yeah, it was a medicine. It
was
wasn't
a medicine,
meant to be a soft drink or a
Right.
beverage. It was a
Right.
medicine.
But it just caught on so quick, and everybody loved it, right?
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend if you ever have the chance to go to Tequila Mexico, take the tequila tours. There was the plaza, the church. The church is like hundreds of years old. In front of there was the plaza, the booth. The food was good, music, everything was just freaking amazing.
That's awesome.
Everything was amazing, and what I told my friend is like, if I could come back to Mexico again, I would come back to Guadalajara and do more of it. They said,
And
there's-
are you going to though?
I
It
probably
sounds
will.
like you
I
will.
probably will. There's like a gringo part of Guadalajara where they say like a lot of Americans go to. They call it like the gringo section, Cholula or something like that.
The gringo section. Sounds like
It's
you're
like
a
very
target.
touristy and all that.
Sounds like you're a target.
I would stay exactly where I was at. It
Really?
was beautiful. It was just like you got home and it was like a nice little place. Like I like Guadalajara more than I like Monterrey.
Wow.
It had that old feel about it still.
I need to look up where was Guadalajara.
It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been kind of doing this for a minute.
So-
let's think about how we're
So
gonna.
I wanted to bring
I
something
kind
up.
of feel like there's been a theme here, but what
But
can you say?
Okay, so
78 degrees in Guadalajara.
78 degrees.
I love it.
The temperature felt the same there as it did here. No, it didn't. It didn't. Monterrey feels the same as it did
You
here.
have notes though. What
I
is-
do.
Okay.
So just to mind you, on Saturday morning in Guadalajara, people were wearing sweatshirts and they were wearing coats and all that. And Saturday morning there felt like noon here. It was chilly, but it wasn't cold.
Okay.
Then I come back to Juarez and I'm freaking freezing. Do you know what I mean? So okay, so let's change gears.
Okay. Now let's talk about common theme. Let's talk about because we can go on all night.
No. You wanted to take this Dario, Jeanette wanted to take this conversation in a certain direction.
No, wait a minute. I was trying to wrap it up.
No, Jeanette wanted to take this conversation in a certain direction.
What direction was that?
Jeanette, tell us what's in the deepest part of your heart.
Is it a wiener?
My God.
Like, I mean, I've heard of a guy banging a girl's brains out, but
What?
Actually, I want you to. Okay, no.
did all the ice already melt?
Yeah, no. Actually, I gave it to Dario to pour his drink in there. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so when Jeanette called
have
me,
to-
when
we have
Jeanette
to
called
wrap it
me, okay, we'll touch base a little bit more just on
You
this
wanted
topic.
to have an event tonight.
It's an event, yeah, just tonight only, at the Roxbury.
At the Roxbury. No.
So no,
wrap it up.
Jeanette wanted to go because my plan was to kind of review like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. What have we been up to? What's kind of been in the news that we've been following up? You know, we've been following Ukraine.
There was an agenda.
It was. What was it? What was the topic you wanted to talk about?
Oh, conspiracy theories, but this is
Yeah.
going to be a little bit more. No.
I wanted to bring up an idea to you.
Okay. Oh, yes, you
I'm
did.
sorry.
No. This is another
Dario.
subject, though.
I just realized looking at the map,
Mm-hmm.
the two cities I was going to fly to, one was Guadalajara, the other one was Guanajuato. They both start with G-U-A.
I want to go to Guanajuato.
One was
I got
Guanajuato.
invited.
Look how close they are in pronunciation and spelling. I just got on the wrong flight.
Oh, my God.
So where did you end up
Oh
in
my
Guanajuato or
God.
Guatemala?
No, I meant to fly
Guadalajara.
to Guanajuato because that's where the
girl was
Chrysler
at.
manufacturing plant was.
Oh, okay.
And the girl that I was dating. And no, I'm just kidding. The
No,
other
no.
one was Guadalajara. I ended up in Guadalajara saying, "What the hell's in
What the
Guadalajara?"
hell is this?
There's nothing.
What the hell is this?
It's not. It wasn't my.
You weren't expecting it.
I
You weren't
wasn't
planning
expecting
it.
that. So,
So-
okay, go ahead.
So Jeanette I want to touch base on this.
Okay, what?
It's really interesting. I've really
No,
been.
but
It
no,
seems
no,
like
no,
I've been
no,
really
no, no.
reading into this a lot lately. I can wrap it up in a lot of different things.
Like
But
how? Like how many minutes?
have you heard about? This hypothesis? It's called the Silurian hypothesis.
Wait a minute. Some Silurian.
Silurian
All right,
hypothesis.
so we're going to have to look it up. Okay.
So it's a high. And I
Hold on
can.
a minute. I've heard this. Hold on.
What do you
Okay,
think
so
it is?
explain
Why
it.
have I heard of the Silurian?
And it could be called fringe science. It could be called. You're talking about like conspiracy theories and all that.
I was talking about conspiracy
So
theories.
this is
About prophecies of what people are thinking is going to happen before this year ends.
okay. We can talk about that next week.
No. Oh, yeah, next week, yes.
But this is a really
lead-in?
this is a really good lead, and I think
Okay, I like
this
it.
is called the Silurian hypothesis. I was watching a Netflix show, and this is
Yes.
also somebody. It's a writer and a geologist I follow that talk a lot about this.
Silurian.
What is Silurian
Oh,
hypothesis?
when I tried to put it in Google, it
Uh-huh.
said Slytherin, like Harry Potter. I'm like,
Slytherin? Silurian.
Okay, so Mark's going to explain it to us.
S-A-L-U.
Because I kind of feel like this is
R-A-N.
Okay,
a
so
teaser.
So,
A
wait a minute.
teaser.
So you brought this up, Jeanette? But
No,
you don't
he
know
brought
what
it up
is?
earlier today.
okay.
He brought it up earlier.
So the last major ice age
Oh, okay.
it ended about 12,000 years ago.
Okay.
Okay. And most people think of ice ages, they're very gradual.
Is this the other, like, there's a whole other generation of people?
You're talking about the ice age that's going to happen right now and
No.
the shifts.
I
of
think
the
Dario's probably closer to it. So the ice, when you think of an ice age, you think of like the ice age probably takes thousands of years for glaciers to end and all that. But the last major ice age came to a major end in a matter of days.
Oh.
Like we're not even talking about within years. We're not talking about months. We're probably maybe like within weeks, right?
Because a comet hit the Earth and
okay, so we know of a period after the last major ice age. It's called the Younger Dryas period. And I've known about this because when I drive to Carlsbad Caverns, there's rock formations that stick out of the earth, and you can see all the levels of sand and dirt and gravel that go down by feet, tens and 20s of feet, right? And tens and 20 of feet doesn't sound like a lot. It's like, it's as deep as a building, but it's a big chunk of dirt, right? And you can see all the layers of soil. And you think like it's only like 10, 20 feet of dirt. But 10, 20 feet of dirt, you're talking about tens of thousands of years. And every time my ex-girlfriend's family lived in Carlsbad, and so we used to drive through the Guadalupes, and there was always one place where I would, making those bends, there was one place you could see a black line in the layers. Mm-hmm. It's called the black mat, like the black mat level, so it's a very distinct black line that runs in the ashes. And this black mat level.
That's so cool to be able to date that.
You can actually see it. It goes back to like 12,000 years ago, roughly, and it exists all around the world.
How long ago were the dinosaurs?
You're talking millions.
Millions of years.
You're talking like 80 millions.
80 million years ago were the dinosaurs?
So when they talk about the history of Earth, if the history of Earth was from LA to New York, more than half of that would be ruled by the dinosaurs. So if they talk about the history of like time being from LA to New York, human beings is only within like the last mile going to New York.
Are you kidding me?
And dinosaurs is like something like more than half of that.
That's amazing.
So how long were reptiles on here before the time of man?
That's it. Silurian from the reptiles.
No, kind of. Okay, so the Silurian hypothesis, it's a hypothesis based on what if an advanced civilization existed?
Yes.
What would it look like, right? So archaeologists and geologists, they look for geologists more of like they study the earth, right? But you can study the earth as it relates to archaeology. If there was an advanced civilization that ended on Earth and they had like advanced technology, would we recognize that advanced technology? Because we're looking at old civilizations through our eyes and what we think advanced technology is. Mm-hmm. But in reality, their advanced technology could have been so different, we would not recognize it.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the Silurian hypothesis.
I like it.
And so there's a couple of names I want to drop. One is called Graham Hancock. He wrote Fingerprints of the Gods.
Okay.
They call him like a fringe writer and all that stuff. And he says, I'm just a journalist. I'm just writing what I'm recording from archaeologists and all that. And so what Graham Hancock says is, you guys say 12,000 years ago, there's hunters and gatherers. But yet hunters and gatherers built all these big temples all around the world, the pyramids. Mm-hmm. He goes, how does one day you go from being a hunter-gatherer to one day you're putting 1 million stones on top of each other making a pyramid in Egypt?
Oh, okay.
Right?
How old are the pyramids?
They're about 10,000 years old. How does that? And how does that? Okay, so
Did you realize that
the youngest dryer period I said is about 12,000 to 10,000 years old.
So they built the pyramids 10,000
And
years
there's-
ago.
And then well, hold on. You're putting it together. You're putting it together.
The next tallest building
No.
wasn't until the Eiffel
Right.
Tower in
But even then,
100 years ago.
we don't have the technology. We could build a pyramid, but we couldn't even build it as fast as they did. Because you're talking about putting a stone down like a minute. A stone.
Wait. Why do we think? Why would?
How do we
why
know
we
a
think it
stone down was
done
put
so
down in a
fast?
minute?
So
How
they
do we know that?
because they were talking about it was built in we were saying it was built in enough time for that a pharaoh to use it as a burial mound.
So you're saying
you're
that,
talking about in a lifetime of a pharaoh, a grown pharaoh.
but this was done before
So-
the pharaoh died. So you're talking about like when would
But you're talking like 1,000,000 stones that weigh like 10 tons, 20,000 pounds when there's no machines. You're talking about rolling them on ramps made of dirt on logs.
and this is where people have conspiracy theories
Right.
based on like the pyramids in Egypt. They're talking about like
They're talking about like spaceships and all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but
There's a
no, we're
bunch
not
of
talking about that though. We're not talking about
conspiracy
spaceships.
theories here.
So what Graham Hancock and then there's another Alexander something. He's a geologist, and what they're not saying like, hey, spaceships and lasers, but what they're saying is like, could there have been an advanced civilization? Maybe they knew how to move stones. Maybe they did.
maybe they know.
Maybe they
knew
had-
how to move them.
maybe they
move
knew how
them
to-
with their minds.
Now you're being silly, but still, they're talking about like
Now you're
no,
being silly.
they're
Settle
talking.
down,
Why?
Jeanette.
Why?
They're
Settle
talking
down.
about
Why?
a possible technology, right? But and even like say we were back then, trucks and all that, airplanes, and he's saying there was a cataclysm that happened, and they're using science to prove this cataclysm happened. They're saying the torrid meteor stream, like an asteroid hitting the Earth,
Killed everybody out.
killed everybody. And he says, and when it hit the Earth, the heat and all that, one of them hit in North America, caused massive floodings from the ice, the glaciers melting. So he says, it's funny that all these stories about great floods that exist in all cultures around the world come from the same time period.
Oh wow!
And he says, is it coincidence that they come from the same time period? Or is it coincidence that there was a sudden end to the ice age, which we know we can prove scientifically the ice age end through the boring that they did in the ice caps, and they were able to the date all that based on what was in the atmosphere and all that time. So that's actually hard science. And he says, so we know there's a massive cataclysm. It actually exists in the soil now because we can actually record this black mat layer that exists all over the world. And he says, furthermore, what coincides with this black mat layer, you're going to find this interesting. So it coincides with this black mat layer that hit between 10 and 12,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas period, which ended the Ice Age, killed off a lot of the large mammals, mammoths, and all that stuff, right? He says the black mat layer has a lot of micro diamond crystalline in high levels from high heat, something getting hit. And not only that, he says that black mat layer has abnormally high layers of iridium and plutonium, which exist in only small amounts on Earth, but iridium is in high amounts in outer space in meteorites.
So is a meteor.
So he's saying he says there's enough evidence to say that we were struck. There could have been multiple hits. If there was an advanced civilization, even like us, we consider ourselves fairly advanced. If we were hit right now by multiple meteorites, big ones, what would happen to us? You have no power, no running water,
Just look what
no
happened during
refrigerator.
COVID.
Look what happened in COVID, and we still had electricity.
Couldn't get toilet paper.
Couldn't get toilet paper. So what happens if you lose all that overnight and you're an advanced civilization? suddenly you're back into the Stone Age. Suddenly you're trying to figure out how to be a hunter and gatherer again. Is it possible some of these large monuments are all that was left from an advanced civilization? And he makes a good point. If it happens to us right now, civilization's wiped out. What would be left of our civilization here in North America right now? One monument particularly. What would be left? Mount Rushmore. Why? It's carved into a large granite mountain. The faces on Mount Rushmore would survive. That would be all people would know of us. He said, because you think about the first Model Ts. Think 12,000 years ago. Think about your basic Model T. Think about a Model T.
It's still around.
Think about when you drive past a farm field and a car was built in the 1920s and 1930s.
It's deteriorating.
And that's less than 100 years. 100 years. You're not talking about 10,000 years. Oh. So think about that. You're not talking about 100 years. You're thinking about 10,000 years. So what happens to all this wood that's left from buildings? Stucco here only lasts like 5 years, then you have to repair it. Asphalt, it starts growing grass through it within a couple of years, starts breaking up. Mm. Concrete has plants growing through it. When I was in Guadalajara,
to see a animation of what would be a city in 10,000 years
if it was not kept up.
Yeah,
if the maintenance is not done.
We know what it looks like in the Amazon.
Right, and those were stone buildings. That's not metal. It's not wood. It's not cement. Mm-hmm. It's stone.
But there they have jungle and grass to grow.
So the first guy that went to South America, he talked about massive civilizations. Yeah. I can't think of his name. It wasn't Cortez, but it was the other guy. Yeah. And he talks about these massive civilizations, massive cities. And then when explore
500 years later, they go to check it out,
and they're not there. Within 500 years, the Amazon completely swallowed up everything.
They all died because of the European smallpox disease.
Because they didn't have immunity, and it was an unforeseen consequence. Because they didn't know about biological warfare, so you can't say they did it intentionally, right? They didn't do it intentionally. They were just there, and it just happened.
It was
VD. Right? So what would happen if it happened now?
Everybody died of herpes.
What a great way to go.
Oh my God.
So if a number of meteorites hit civilization, only 5% of the population was left. And in 12,000 years from now, if they were looking for evidence of us, what would be left? Maybe the pyramids might be left if an asteroid didn't hit there. Mount Rushmore.
Maybe the old ruins.
Maybe the Wall of China.
Maybe. All
your modern day buildings would be deteriorate just by weathering from the sun, the wind, and all that. Literally. Stonehenge might be fallen stones like we found them, because we found them. They were fallen stones. We've actually re-erected them.
Regrow.
So think about that. So Graham Hancock
tunnels.
And Alexander something.
The
tunnels. The tunnels. They would probably be flooded over time. And if they got flooded, the sediment would get in there.
And what would happen in 10,000 years?
If our civilization came to a halt right now, and then think about it, if only 5% of the population was left, which is like thousands of people spread all over the earth, probably they wouldn't have communication with the other. They're trying to survive. They'd have to make clothes from plants again and all that.
Only the preppers would be alive.
But even then, that would only last years at best, not hundreds of years.
I don't think anything was that. It wasn't meant to last that long.
And then, say if you're a prepper and you have solar cells. Solar cells begin to degrade rapidly. You don't get the same amount of electricity.
10 years.
So 10 years. So what happens after 40, 50 years?
What happens after 400 years?
And all that knowledge that you knew how to make them, gone. And then all the knowledge that we keep on the cloud, on CDs, is lost unless we had a stash of books somewhere with information that wasn't destroyed. Anything that's online or on a CD, gone, no longer accessible.
By electrical pulse.
But you don't have it. You don't even have the ability to make electricity because you can't make metal. If you don't know how to make metal to make that kind of stuff, you're essentially back in the Stone
I think
Age
we
again.
should just drink some cyanide-laced Kool-Aid and just end it all right now.
It's
So dark.
it's dark, but he's trying to say like, look, I'm not telling you there's aliens. I'm not telling you all this stuff, but I'm saying it's possible that there was a civilization before the hunters and gatherers.
I think anything's possible. Though.
Anything's possible,
because
and-
we just don't know. We just know.
And
the short time that
and
we're
we know
here.
we know that meteorites hit the earth. Look what happened to the dinosaurs, big reptiles. The Yucatan Peninsula, massive thing there, ended all of Earth, right?
So, are we going to circle back to conspiracy theory
Well,
for the next one? Because
I'm ready for it.
okay, I love it because I've been kind of reading some stuff about, but it's
Yeah.
just silly stuff.
About
but it's
what?
kind of fun.
What, Jeanette? What have you been reading?
So here's something like, what was conspiracy theory that is being taken seriously now? UFOs. They don't even call them UFOs
Illuminati.
because the term UFO is so derogatory. They call them unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs.
So there's supposed to be this thing where aliens are we're supposed to know that of their true existence, and we're supposed to know about it this year. There's a conspiracy.
Do you know
about
how
that.
often? Do
There's
you know
a
how often?
prophecy about that.
Do you know how often now that Fox News talks about UFOs now? Before, none of the mainstream media.
Oh,
talked
you know
about it.
it is being talked about.
And all of them, the Congress, the Pentagon is supposed to do annual reports on UAPs now to Congress, and that was thanks to Trump actually.
But there's things that
Okay.
Anyway, so I kind of feel like
Trump.
this is.
That's
I kinda
we can
feel
talk about
like-
Trump later.
I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lead-in.
Announces candidacy.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, I read it.
Yeah, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So-
I think this is a nice.
But it's a
Fun.
good segue. But what's going on with UFOs? We're not talking about ghosts. We're not
we're
talking about
UFOs.
all this stuff. We're talking about something that people have been talking about in a long time, and there's actually like physical evidence.
And people have been deemed crazy.
People
and when people talk about it,
Yeah, they were talked about. They were called crazy
Yeah.
and fringe.
but now everyone, well, not everyone, but
No, it's in the
people are
mainstream
more
now.
open to the possibility.
The military with the Tic Tac sightings. You know about that, right? It was with the USS Nimitz, the Nimitz on the coast of there. So there are UFOs in the shapes of Tic Tacs. Okay, so here's one thing that's happened. That's kind of important. So the F-18s, what are they? The Hornets.
Hornets.
The Hornets. So over the past like 10 years, 5 to 10 years, their radar equipment and their sensors was all upgraded. It was all super upgraded. Our technology made leaps and bounds. And what happened was, and they interviewed a number of these pilots, and these pilots say, we'd be flying, and then we got the upgrade, and suddenly we're seeing all sorts of stuff in the sky that we never saw before on our sensors. And they say, we're actually recording this stuff now. We have proof of it now. Before, we would come back and say, like, oh, I saw this thing. And they'd be like, okay, just don't talk about it. That'd be the end of it. But suddenly there's multiple people tracking this stuff because, our Aegis systems and whatnot, it tracks everything with such high proficiency now. And it's so much better. They see things that they never saw before. So the USS Nimitz was off the coast of California running maneuvers. And I believe it was the Nimitz. And there's this guy named Captain Fravor. He was flying his Hornet with his squadron. And they picked up something that looked like the shape of a Tic Tac. And they were told to go check it out. They went and checked it out. And they said, this thing dropped from like 50,000 feet to 10,000 feet in a blink of an eye. And they said it would take off within a blink of an eye from here, 50 miles away, in a blink of an eye. And he said they'd circle around, they would try to lock on it, and it would blink somewhere else again. And he said these things were messing with us. They didn't have any heat signatures. They didn't have any visible modes of propulsion. And they have it all on radar. They recorded the radar. and he says our best jets are flying what, Mach 5, 6, 7. He said these things within a split of a second would jump to Mach 10 in a blink of an eye, and it'd be gone, and then it'd be here, boom. And he says, and when they were done, these things were done, they dropped 20,000 feet straight into the ocean, and he said you could see them gone in water, going something like 200 knots in water. And then you have the submarine guys talking about the things they see down there. But again, because our technology's gotten better, so no longer is it just people with grainy video or weird stories. Suddenly we have military guys picking it up now.
Yeah, you have legitimate documentation and video. But okay, so we have to find a segue because
because I know you want to cut it short and all that.
And not only that, if I'm being honest, I'm wiggling in my seat because I have to go pee.
Oh, Jeanette has to make pee-pee.
I have to pee. I'm sorry.
The sightings that they have in Ruidoso about the Yetis.
Yeah.
Is he there?
Mm-hmm.
No, in his bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn it!
Jeanette needs to go potty.
I do. I have to potty. That's where my
go to my restroom. It's dirty, but go ahead.
I don't.
Jeanette's gonna go to the restroom.
I do. Time.
And there's TP in there. Okay, me and Dario will continue.
But there's TP in there.
Yes.
Oh my God! Thank you.
Jeanette's gonna make it a little girl break.
I do. I have to be a girl.
She has to make tinkle tinkle.
I do because I can't take it. That's why I'm like, cut it short. my bladder calls. I can't take it.
Star. Oh, Jeanette. Where are you?
Here, I want to pour some water to help her out.
No.
So did Jeanette ever tell you about our sightings out here?
Oh, please.
No, but I've heard about some
Yes,
Sasquatch sightings in Ruidoso.
I've heard about those too.
Protected by
Capitan.
the Indian.
I've heard about it in Capitan.
Yeah.
So,
Protected by the Mescalero tribe.
me and Jeanette, I tell Jeanette about the every now and then, and I always know when they're going to come out. I see lights out in the mountains, big lights, and there's like always a line of them, and they kind of like hang there, and then they kind of come down, and they kind of come down real slow, and they keep their formation, and it's like, God, these aren't flares. They come down in two. They come down in two uniform.
Are they
And then they'll be hanging there, and then they just turn off. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is it part of the Alamogordo Air Force Base?
It's on this side of the mountains.
On this side of the mountain?
Yeah,
You
this
can
side of
hear
the
the
mountain.
mountain?
This side of the mountain is not Alamogordo, the testing grounds. So I was
We don't
telling.
have a drone. We need to go fly out there.
Yeah, we should. So me and her were talking about this, and she's like, "Oh, that's great," because she was asking about it, and I was telling her, "Well, I see these lights out there. I know when they're out there. I just already know when they're out there. I don't know. When I know they're there, I look, and there they are, and I can never get my phone on fast enough to record them, but I have now. And so one day, me and Jeanette were having drinks, and I'm telling her, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool." And we walk outside to this bar, right over here, and I was like, yeah, how funny if they'd come up, and I look up and I go, oh, hey, there they are. And she looks up, she goes, what? And there's 3 of them in a shape like this, in a south by southeast direction. And I go, there they are. And she goes, what are those? And I go, they're not helicopters. The light A is not the right. B, there's none of the markings, the port, the starboard, the red and green lights, the blinking lights. No, they're not there. I go, they're not blinking. And she goes, they're not. And I go, look where they're at. They're not at the mountains, so they're not in the mountains. And she goes, you're right. They're not that far back. And I'm like, right? I go, am I crazy? She goes, yeah. And I go, look how low they are. They're not like towers. And there's no towers in this direction. And she's just like, what? And like, she just like looks at me, and I was like, just, I go, we're not scientists. We're not here, but you could if you tell me I'm crazy, you know they're not the
NASA's right there.
Not in this direction. They're not. This direction they are.
He told you about the video?
The lights.
The
I had the
picture
video.
No, there's pictures.
Yeah, I had the pictures, and I can show them to you in a little while. And so I'm telling Jeanette, like, just think about it. They're not far enough to be in the mountains. They're not very high. They're like not very high. And I go, and just listen. Do you hear anything?
Nothing.
Nothing. And then
Are they like baby lights?
and no, they were
so
bright.
weird.
They were bright. They were there, and they were there 1 second, and then they were gone.
That was legitimate. That was the first time I've ever seen that.
And-
Actually, there was also another time though when I was driving home from actually this area where my dad lives, and I looked up in the sky and there was something hovering over the freeway, and I didn't turn to get
But-
a better look, but there was something there.
You have to be careful because there's been a lot of helicopters, and when a helicopter has a spotlight and he turns at you, like in your direction, it's super bright. Because I see a lot of helicopters out here.
But it wasn't a helicopter.
And like helicopters, if you look at them long enough, you
You
can
think?
identify them. And you know what? And when you look at the horizon, and when you see like Venus or Jupiter, and it's super, when it right comes over the mountain, it's super bright and it's really big. But you can tell it's over the mountain. And you can like, that's Venus, that's Jupiter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These ones that and I don't know what yours is. I wasn't there. But
Yeah.
but like I said, I've come home many times late at night and I go, what is that light? And I was like, that's not it. And as I'm driving home and I'm watching it, and then the spotlight goes off and I can see like a little green light. I was like, at the helicopter. But certain ones I see on this side, and then the ones I showed Jeanette on this side every time.
But
And it's
that was really weird because it really just
And I'll tell you what,
disappeared. It
for
was
some
really
reason, I know when they're there. And when I'm driving home, and when I'm always driving home by myself, when it's really dark out here, I'll be like, you guys going to show yourself to me tonight? No, you're not, are you? It's like, I know. It's like, but I'm always like, and sometimes
Mark's in tune.
and sometimes I'll drive all the way to the end of this road here, Sonoma. I'll drive all the way to the end and just, like, you guys going to come out tonight? No. And so I have a nurse that lives all the way out there
Up in the mountains.
in that direction. And so she was saying like, oh, I overheard her talking, man, sometimes when me and my husband are out there having drinks and you just hear stuff and you just see things. I was like, oh, do tell. And she's like, we need to sit and drink. She says, because like her backyard goes all the way up to like where the NASA is.
Oh.
And she says, Mark, she says, we have to sit down and drink because sometimes, she says, you hear things and you see things and you see lights and you just can't comprehend it. And I telling her, I said,
That is so cool.
I told her, I go, I always see the lights that come down and they're there 1 second and they just take their time. They come down. And like I say, they're not a flare. They're not a helicopter. And then they're gone the next minute. And she goes, yeah, you see those all the time.
So it is. Maybe
they're
maybe a
looking-
part of the
they're looking
conspiracy
east.
prophecy about the aliens being known this year, that this is supposed to be the year before the end of the year is out.
Is this supposed to be this year?
Yeah, it's supposed to be by the end of the year that we will know that it's going to be
Where did
like,
you hear that from?
Oh, dude, come on.
Come on.
Everywhere. Internet, come on.
Where did you hear that from?
Internet.
Because I've heard the same thing. There's even some guys on TikTok I follow. They talk
But
about.
that's the thing, though. That's funny because it is, no matter how many people believe or don't believe, I'm not saying it's happening,
but it's happening.
I'm not saying that like the prophecy is true or the conspiracy theory is true, but that's the fun part. It's like,
it's proving itself. It's proving itself.
Is there something to it, or is this just fun? Is it lunacy? Who knows? That's what I like about it.
I
No.
think it's
Like
lunacy.
it's
Provocative.
provocative. It's fun to explore that.
But
I don't know.
It's more and more. It's happening. More and more it's being documented. More and more it's in the mainstream media. And more. I mean, it's just like I say. In the 80s and 90s, it was all kook.
Do I believe it necessarily? I do believe I saw those lights, though. We
Yeah.
saw those lights. It's
And
like
let me tell you,
legitimate.
and the things I've seen out in the desert when I'm driving up I-10 or I-25 by myself, I know what I've seen, and I can show you some of the pictures I've seen. And I'm not drinking.
And we've
should
also
put, like, a
we've also
camera.
explored paranormal.
Yeah,
And
the
the
paranormal is crazy, right?
The paranormal is crazy. So one of the girls in the office caught like a picture. She was taking a picture of the Halloween decorations in what she had set up, And as you go down the picture towards the dress of the witch that she put up, there's a face.
Just get her to send that to you.
I know I need to because it's a face.
I hate when people say that there's a picture and
It's
they're
a
like,
face.
forward that. I would like to see it.
It's not my picture, and I keep forgetting. But there's a face.
Jeanette.
I see it, and I saw it.
You're
I've
killing
seen
me.
it, I know.
You can't say that you've seen it and not show it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're right.
Because like when
when
I was at my place and I said, dude, this building's nuts, and you hear banging and it's like crazy. And what did we do? 10 o'clock at night, we went in there, we sat there, and that was nuts, wasn't it?
Did you hear it?
You could,
Yes, I did.
and you could feel it in the floor.
Mama, 3 times.
Like I even have the video of it where you could hear like banging
No, you
in the
did.
video.
You did. Dario, you really did. Is it still happening?
Ever since we switched buildings, so I'm no longer in there.
But you did
We did
The
like
sage.
the saging, but during the
But
saging,
just because the
a weird.
saging happens
doesn't mean it's
it doesn't
completely gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean it doesn't come back.
Well, see, she saged it the first time and it came back, and then she saged it the second time, but then it stopped. But then we moved. But when we saged it, weird stuff happened during the sage that happened like right in front of my eyes.
So I guess maybe we need to take Dario to the place.
Well, somebody else is in that building now, and I wouldn't want to go in there without.
Oh, okay. So what about the building at the end, Southwest Laboratories?
Yeah,
Are they gone?
yeah.
What size square footage?
I would need a measure. You need a building.
Yeah.
We're talking business. We can talk. We
We can
talk.
talk. But is it because it's haunted?
No, that's a new building.
Dang it.
No.
There's an opportunity
Okay, we'll talk after.
for
But-
it attached to a dispensary type of.
I don't know because dispensaries are being popular. More 2 more states just legalized.
But it's not a dispensary. It's the testing of the product.
Oh,
The
so
nearest one is Albuquerque.
I could connect you with the owners of that. Well, anyways, but marijuana is legalized in 2 more states.
2 more.
2 more states.
And what states are those?
I don't recall, but there was 2 more states. That's happening. Like in the 80s and 90s, to think that there's going to be finally enough people moving on that to legalize
It
it.
doesn't matter because the job still requires.
Yeah,
you
no,
to
the
be-
job still requires.
If it isn't
yeah.
like federally, like
Right, but
Like
the
passed or legal.
momentum's happening.
Yeah.
So that there might be something federal. Now, granted, medical jobs you can't go to work high.
No.
just
well,
like
it's just like
forklift.
alcohol.
just like you can't go to the hospital working as a nurse drunk
Yeah,
Or a
I mean,
forklift.
yeah.
or a forklift or a semi.
So let me ask you this: if you have product from this, and you're driving through a border checkpoint on the
I
way
don't
to
know.
Deming or on the way to TRC, and they stop you, they put the dogs around you, they sense it, they pull you over.
I have no idea.
I
Is
think
that
isn't
federal or
it
is
like
that
legally
state?
no
It's
stay
supposed to be
away.
federal because
But-
the border
So
patrol
they
is not
could-
state.
So it's border patrol. So if you have
Yeah.
product that's being tested in Albuquerque, because that's where the lab is,
And they stop you on the way
and they
there.
stop you on the way there, are you get it confiscated? And
They could.
But isn't this where the state like regulated it to like having to have permission? What are you
the
talking
Border
about? Like
Patrol
So
federal.
the border
Oh,
patrol's
Border
federal.
Patrol.
So the border patrol is set up where they are to control the flow of immigration and all that, right?
But if they're here in the state of New Mexico and it's legal,
It doesn't matter though. It's still
I don't know
it's
this
still a what is it called?
Wow.
A class 1 or
it's a
class.
federal law illegal, but on a state level, it's approved. So
It's a class. It's
that's why you can't fly across.
well then
it's a class 1 drug. It's
well
still a
then
class 1
how
drug.
in the state of New Mexico if you have distributors and you have growers and you have
That's what I'm.
distributors,
But
how
that's
do you
what I'm
move
saying.
product?
That's what I'm saying though.
you don't.
That's what
Keep
I'm
it
saying,
within the
though.
states.
It's starting to get enough momentum across the country. So when it first happened, it was in Colorado. Oh man, Colorado legalized it. Let's go to Colorado and get chewables, and you know what I mean. And I was like, oh, go to Colorado because it's not approved federally. You can only buy it with cash, right? And so it was like, but it was Colorado out of 50 states, right? No longer is it Colorado out of 50 states. I don't know how.
Arizona approved.
Let me look it up.
I thought it was
So you have
Colorado and
California, Arizona, New
California
Mexico.
when it first got legalized.
Texas, no.
No, they will never. Never. I mean, never say never, but still.
Well, like I say, what if there's enough momentum that it finally is unclassified as a class 1 drug? What would happen then? I mean, it's all we don't know, but think about that. I mean, because essentially there's enough momentum that you could see that happen in our lifetime now.
I love you guys, but we really need to wrap this up.
Well, let me look this up.
Okay.
How many states has legalized weed?
Oh,
How many states?
It's kind of like a come and go podcast. Bye.
Wow. How many states do you think have legalized? How many states have you think has legalized weed? Take a guess, Jeanette.
15.
15? 20? 21 states.
Oh.
That's almost half of the states in the United States.
Not almost half.
That's Hawaii.
No. I'm sorry. Marijuana is legal for adults. Oh boy, how just happened? In 21 states and Washington, D.C.
Okay, almost.
Medicinal marijuana is legal
almost half. Never mind.
medicinal marijuana is legal in 38 states and Washington, D.C. So medicinal marijuana is actually in 2/3 of the United States now.
What
Well,
about
there is
abortion?
something to that.
Well, abortion was actually relegated to the state level. So I mean, legalization votes failed in deep red South Dakota, North Dakota, Arkansas.
Looking at
Arkansas, it's not legal.
I'm getting tired.
I
Yeah.
know. It's my bedtime.
Okay.
I know. We're like working professionals.
Okay, so just real fast. President Joe Biden, for his part,
We still have to work.
directed relevant federal agencies, including the Department of Justice, to expeditiously review marijuana's federal classification as a substance with no acceptable uses in October. Cannabis is still considered an illegal Schedule 1 drug by the U.S. Government. So they're supposed to... Okay, U.S. lawmakers in the House are set to hold hearings on federal cannabis reform on November 15th. That was 2 days ago.
Now that the Republicans have gained the House.
That probably won't happen. But again, there's 38 states, though, medicinal. You can actually see... You probably have enough momentum to see something happen now. Especially with the amount of money involved. Because you know what talks to politicians? Lobbying. And if there was a lot of money coming out of that for lobbying, re-elections, you could see that's the way.
Crime came with it too, though.
Crime came with it.
Yeah, there was my friend's neighbor has a dispensary, and they got robbed because idiots who was managing it set all the product up in the displays to be ready for the next morning instead of putting it back into the safe.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the jeweler putting all the watches in the front of the kiosks after the store is closed.
Wow, that's silly.
So they think it was an inside job, but $150,000 worth of business.
And certain insurance policies won't cover it still. A lot of insurance policies won't.
Well, you would think that if your insurance isn't going to cover that, you'd be a little bit more careful about.
Not if you're
where-
trying to just get into a business, though.
No, but the jewelers take away everything and put it in the back room in the safe at the end of the night.
Be
Yeah.
a little bit more careful about your product.
You don't
Yeah.
have good management.
Oh, one last thing. Nancy Pelosi is no longer the Speaker of the House.
Oh, did she decide to announce her retirement?
No, she's not retiring, but they no longer hold the House.
Oh, that's right. Well, she was going to make an announcement what her next. She's 85 years old. Come on.
I mean, they've made all their money from insider trading. Did I just say that out loud?
Yes, you
Oh,
sure did.
My bad. Yeah, I mean, she's been in Congress for like 20 some odd years, and now she's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Where'd all that money come from? Good job, Nancy. All right, guys. Well, good place to call it.
Good place to end.
Go visit
place
Mexico.
to-
Viva Mexico.
Viva Mexico.
How's that guy go? Epa, arriba.
Which guy?
The little mouse guy.
Oh, you're talking about
Speedy
Speedy
Gonzalez. Epa.
Arriba, arriba.
Arriba.
Yeah. Beep, beep. Oh, that's the one.
I know, right?
New
That's the
Mexico's.
tequila talking.
Dude, that was cool. It was cool.
All right.
We'll segue more into the whole thing. Oh, Netflix, Graham Hancock, Ancient Apocalypses, I think was what it's called. He has a 9-part series about what we were talking about the Silurian theory, about the Younger Dryas. He talks to geologists and archaeologists.
The Lost Worlds.
Not necessarily I guess so. What he has to say is really interesting, and it's not fringe, but it's really based on like a lot of science. So I really encourage you to see it. It was 9 parts or 9 episodes long only. It's on the top 10 trending shows on Netflix right now. I think it's called Ancient Apocalypse. Okay. Really, really good.
I have a recommendation that everybody go out and try this tequila.
Oh, yeah.
Convivencia. God bless it. Was that amazing?
That was
Ancient,
drinking maple syrup.
Ancient Apocalypse.
Oh.
It's super
Tequila,
good
maple
tequila.
syrup.
Super good
Did
tequila.
you say
Truth serum.
keto maple syrup?
Yeah, I did. But man, it was good to do this again. Let's do
it
it
was
again.
fun.
I'm not going to go to Mexico for like about 3 weeks or so.
All right.
So yeah, so I'll be here to work for a while.
I'll be driving to Omaha
Nice.
next Tuesday for Thanksgiving.
I'll be walking my dog on Thanksgiving. Yeah. Jeanette, are you going to have a nice fat roast beef breakfast dinner for Thanksgiving?
What are you cooking?
Doing new traditions with my dad.
Okay.
Baking. She's going to be baking for Thanksgiving.
My dad hates turkey, so we're not going to do that.
Okay. Fair enough.
New traditions.
I thought your new tradition was like a nice hot link in the morning or something. A nice little bratwurst. Something cream-filled, like a cream-filled Bavarian donut.
Oh my god.
He didn't make it through customs.
I'm going home.
Go home. All right, that's a wrap. That was fun. Let's do it again.
All
Puff
right.
pastry.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my